Hi guys, welcome back to Crypto Chester. My name is Chester and today I'll be walking you through the crypto markets. First things first, I'll be starting off with the short term of Bitcoin, then the mid term of Bitcoin, and then the long term of Bitcoin. Once I'm done with Bitcoin, I'll be jumping onto some altcoins for you guys and we'll do some TAs on them as well. So if you want to dump them in the chat now, and I'll get to them once I'm finished with Bitcoin. Let's just start off straight away with the short term of Bitcoin. As you can see, we are in this falling price channel and we have been Since this sort of horrible downtrend actually began for Bitcoin, right? And as you can see, this is a crucial point at the top of this trend line that we've got coming down here to the top side of this trend line. It's a crucial point because as you can see, we are testing the idea. We're testing the idea of finding support here. If we can find a nice level of support on the retest here, we could be looking at a long position, right? We could be looking at a long position to the upside to this 200 moving average here, sitting at around $40,000 Bitcoin, right? Sitting at $40,000. In terms of a measure move for that trade, we could be looking at something along the lines of this, right? And we just grab that, put it up there, and that's basically potentially going to line up perfectly with this 200 moving average here. So that's definitely a long position to think about today in terms of Bitcoin. If on the basis that we can find support on this trend line that we got going on here, and we can find a nice level of support where we have found a nice level of support on this 55 moving average here. But we do have these coiled up moving averages here, so that does indicate a break in the price. Whether that's going to be a retest of this trend line here and a break to the upside, or it's going to be a retest of this trend line, we lose support on it, and then we basically start smashing through moving averages to the downside, and then test this level of support at 35.1, right? 35.1, definitely something to think about if we aren't going to find support on this trend line here, right? So it's definitely a potential long trade there for the short term of Bitcoin. In terms of what's happening on the RSI right now, you can see, we discussed this last week, we did have this dominant trend line coming through when we were setting these lower highs for Bitcoin here. So we do have this dominant trend line coming through. So if we are going to come down, right, if we are going to come down and lose the support that we're currently testing and that we found on the 55 moving average, we're going to see some support here, right, in terms of a bounce of buying power to the upside. We are going to see some sort of support here, and that's very central on the RSI there for the short term. So that's pretty good, right? It's pretty good for Bitcoin in terms of buying and selling power for the RSI here. So it's an indication we could be coming up, right? We could be coming up because we have found this level of support on this trend line, and we've basically bounced and found buying power from there. And that's obviously this pump that you can see here. Right now, if we can get to the point where we start seeing a lot more buying power and we see this measure move start to play out, right? If we see this measure move start to play out to the upside in terms of a long position that we're looking for, we are going to be overbought, right? We are going to be overbought, and RSI is going to be sat around 80, around that sort of mark, right? We are going to be overbought, and that basically is going to indicate a sell-off in price, right? A sell-off in the price of Bitcoin. So that's an indication that we might not get to this 200 moving average, and it could be a trap, right? It could be a trap. So we could be looking at a potential trade, but it's not. I don't see us going because of obviously the position of the RSI here. If we do see a surge of buying power here, it's going to push the RSI up significantly. So I can basically see us potentially, say if we got in a trade at around this trend line, we're probably looking at a 6% trade there, right? 6% trade there, but as you can see, there's no major moving averages. There's no levels of support and resistance here to set a take profit. So you're going to need to manage your position accordingly if you are thinking about getting in a long here. But just do that via the RSI here, because as soon as we become overbought here, we are going to be looking at some sort of price correction in terms of selling power, and that could basically initiate some sort of price coming to around 38.5, around that level, and then we see us come down and test the level of support on this trend line once again, right? So that's definitely something to consider in terms of the long position that we're in right now. A factor that is actually quite good at the moment, we're in a nice uptrend. We're in a nice uptrend on the MACD here. And as you can see, we're pretty far away from a bearish crossover, right? We're pretty far away from a bearish crossover. And it looks like this cycle of trend that we had going on here, we've actually just broke that, right? So if we get a nice little trend line coming across here, we have actually broke this trend line on the short term for Bitcoin, right? In terms of an uptrend, right? So at this point in time, we've waved up, right? We've waved up. We've come back down for a little retrace on the MACD, and now we're waving up again. We could see a significant amount of pressure to the upside on the MACD here, and potentially setting a very nice higher high in terms of a trend cycle for the MACD here, and that'll basically initiate some sort of trend pattern looking like that in the future, right? So that's definitely something to think about when trading Bitcoin right now, because at this point in time, we are looking. I don't see us going right the way up, right the way up, because obviously we've got to think about the RSI here. So I could see us basically coming up and then seeing a trend reversal from there. Once we've seen that trend reversal, we're obviously going to see a bearish crossover on the MACD here. But as you can see here, we do have a dominant trend. We have a dominant downtrend trend line on the MACD here. So if we are going to see it. If we are going to see a bearish crossover on the MACD here, we are going to start of the week Monday. Still a bit nervous, right? We are going to see a downtrend basically form. We're going to see a downtrend basically form, and then we're going to see something along the lines of this. But as you can see, we do have this respected level of support on this trend line here. Respected level of support. So that's basically an indication that we are going to come down. If we are going to come into a downtrend, a bearish crossover, right? We are going to basically get stopped at around this point. So the selling power, the trend to the downside isn't going to be significant enough to dump us down back into well, hopefully it's not going to be significant enough to dump us back down into this falling price channel that we've got going on here. So that's basically another indication that we are going to basically go up, come down, test this level of support again at around 35, 36. And that's kind of what I can see planning out for the next few hours, right? I think it is going to be very volatile, right? It's going to be very volatile because we have seen, well, as you can see from the top 50, well, as you can't see here, but I'm sure you've seen the top 50 cryptos this morning are literally, they're all booming, right? They're all booming. We're seeing some nice swift recovery in terms of buying power. And that obviously means we are going to have some sort of correction sometime soon, right? It's not just going to keep going up, right? But ones to watch today, we do have Luna going up. That's crazy. MATIC's going up. That's crazy. Yeah, really some really good coins to watch out for today. Some serious profit could be made, right? XMR, very bullish on XMR. Definitely one to have a look at. But yeah, so that's the short term for Bitcoin, right? That's the short term for Bitcoin. I'm just going to switch to the mid term for Bitcoin. I'm just going to have some water. As you can see here, we do have a dominant trend line to the upside here. Not that there. We do have a dominant trend line to the upside here. And that is basically the trend line that we've got going on for the top of this price channel on the short term, right? As you can see, we do have it on the midterm. But it's a lot more heavily respected, I say, on the midterm, right? But we are actually trying to test it now. We're trying to find support. And this is the 4 hour if you guys want to bring this up on your chart. But as you can see, we do have a dominant trend line to the downside, right? A dominant trend line to the downside, which comes from the first sort of swing down that we had for Bitcoin, right? The first sort of swing down we had for Bitcoin, and that's when the uncertainty in the market basically started, right? We did trickle up from there to an extent before this colossal deep sea dive dumpage to the floor, but you can see this trend line is heavily respected. Even though we're going down, which isn't great, but we are still heavily respected. So with that correlating with the trend line that we've got going on the top side here, we are looking at a falling wedge, right? We're looking at a nice falling wedge to the downside, right? A falling wedge indicates a break to the upside in terms of price, right? So in terms of measure move that we're looking at, potentially something along the lines of this. If this is obviously all on the basis that we can find support on this major trend line, which we were just talking about on the short term as well. Major trend line here. If we can find nice level of support on that, if we can get over the 21 moving average, which we're currently testing, and as you can see, we primarily respect it. This is this yellow one here, right? We primarily respect it. So if we can get over that, find support on that, that's a bit more confirmation that we are looking at a move to the upside, right? If we're looking at a move to the upside, we're going to close this 4 hour candle above this trend line, above this 21 moving average, and then we're looking at a potential long position, right? If we're looking at a potential long position in terms of a percent, right? In terms of a percent, we're looking at something along the lines of 9, just under 10% there, right? And in terms of take profit, look, we got this 55 moving average coming in pretty swiftly. It's coming in pretty swiftly, and as you can see, it's trending down. If we can see some a nice surge in the price to the upside, right? We're going to see the 25 moving average basically curl off and become sort of horizontal, right? And that's basically going to line up perfectly with this measure move to the upside. So that's definitely a long position to think about today, because this is the second chart pattern that is playing out right now. It's the second chart pattern that's playing out right now. We've got the short term, the mid term, and look at that. It's just good. If we can find a nice level of support on this 21, then it's looking very good for the short term of Bitcoin right now. In terms of the level of support, that if we lose this trend line that we're testing currently, we're trying to find support on currently, the next level of support is around 36.1. If we lose that, then it's the floor, baby. Then I can basically see us potentially coming down and testing the bottom side of this trend line that we've got going on here. But that will obviously mean that we are going to fall significantly through these moving averages on the short term, and we'll potentially come down and potentially break this trend line on the RSI on the short term there. And also we will be setting a new trend cycle on the short term here in terms of a downtrend, right? So these are quite a few factors that I don't think we're going to be dumping to the floor today. But I can see at least some sort of price correction if we do move to the upside, right? And that's basically, I referenced that from the RSI a minute ago on the short term, right? But as you can see, we have got this falling wedge. In terms of the RSI on the midterm that we've got going on here, we do have this dominant trend line. Which it just is controlling the RSI in terms of buying power. And we do have this spillage and stuff like that, but it is primarily controlling the RSI right now. If we are going to search to the upside, we know we're going to find some resistance here, because obviously we do continuously, right? We know we're going to find some resistance here at around 60 on the RSI there. So that basically is an indication we are going to see some price correction from the 55 moving average that we've got going on here, right? Guys, if you're liking the stream, hit that thumbs up, turn that thumbs up blue, helps me out tremendously, right? And guys, I'm going to be streaming every day, right? I streamed every day last week, I'm streaming every day, it's in my schedule now. So if you want to do this with me every single morning, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, you're never going to miss more uploads. I also like doing my alt gem videos as well, just to educate people on some potential altcoins where we can see those serious gains, right? Definitely some coins to think about in terms of the videos that I've done before, so go check them out as well. But yeah, let's get straight back into it. In terms of this measure move up to the 55 moving average that we've got going on here, it basically correlates perfectly with this level of resistance on the RSI that we've got. So it's looking like we are going to come up, test this 40,800 mark, and then see some price correction from there if we are to respect this resistance level on the RSI on the midterm for Bitcoin, right? In terms of the MACD right now, in terms of the macadamia nut we've got going on here on the midterm for Bitcoin, as you can see, it's not great. Like it's pretty flaccid. There's no major trends apart from these downtrends here that it's just seeing these deep sea dives to the floor, right? At this point in time, we're not really seeing anything that's great. We're just getting crossovers, bullish, bearish, just continuously, right? It's not great trends going on in terms of spotting a potential move. But as you can see, if we're looking at horizontal points here, we're looking at this one here, so we could be looking at this uptrend coming up and testing that, right? That is basically an indication that we are going to come up, potentially find support on this 21 moving average and this major trend line that we've got going down here. If we can find support on that, we could be looking at potentially breaking this horizontal resistance point on the MACD here and setting some sort of new higher high in terms of an uptrend, and then we're going to see some cycle sort of basically play out, setting higher lows continuously like that, right? That's sort of what I think could happen. But at this point in time, place to watch on a MACD, we're looking at this point here at 495, around that level. That's the horizontal point that we need to break. If we're not going to break from that, we are going to be looking at some sort of probably consolidation period around this level before we break to the upside. But ideal scenario, this is going to be our trend, and we've just broken it, right? This is going to be our trend line, and we've just broken that trend line, and we're looking at a nice surge to the upside, a nice new uptrend cycle being created on the MACD there, and that basically is an indication that we are going to come up and test the 55 moving average. That's the ideal scenario. That's the ideal scenario. In terms of the downtrend that we've got going on here, you can see this is the lower low on the MACD here. In terms of a trend line that we've got going on here, it's pretty flaccid, but it does look like the trend cycle for this is over. So we are looking at potentially, if we do see a bearish crossover, seeing a new trend being formed. It's either going to be pretty flaccid, something along the lines of this. Flaccid. It's going to be pretty small along the lines of this. If we are going to see it, because obviously it will find a nice level of support in terms of this downtrend trend line that we've got going on here. Or, as I said, we're potentially going to see a lower low formed and then some sort of new downtrend cycle created for Bitcoin. I mean, in my opinion right now, we're not switching to a bull market anytime soon, in my opinion. We've gone straight heavily into this bear market, right? We've gone heavily into this bear market, and there's no sign of recovery anytime soon. I think it's just going to be a bit of a trappy mess, and I can basically see us going sideways for a long time around in the 30s, right? Around in the 30s, probably for a few months, probably shilling out all the people that thought Bitcoin was going to be at 100K in a month, right? after obviously we saw those insane trends. Obviously, after we saw those insane uptrends at the start of this year, it's obviously got everyone really bullish on Bitcoin, and now everyone's basically shitting themselves, right? But yeah, that's kind of the midterm for Bitcoin that we've got going on here. Potential moves to look out for to the upside. If we aren't going to move to the upside, I think it's, as I said, it's pretty highly unlikely that we are going to lose this level of support around 36. But it's Bitcoin, right? It's Bitcoin, right? We have had a massive surge. If we don't find a nice level of support on this trend line at around 36.6 here, then we could potentially see a swift rejection, right? We could potentially see a swift rejection off this 21 moving average here, bringing us down even further. And that's basically an indication that could happen because, one, we in terms to get there, we would need to find support on the RSI, or we could just fizzle out and just see some downwards selling power from there. But also, we do have a potential for a new downtrend cycle to start on the MACD, right? Right now, let's jump to the long term for Bitcoin that we got going on here. As you can see, when we got down to that 30K mark for Bitcoin, right? Not quite 29, 30K mark, right? As you can see, when we got down to that 30K mark, we heavily respected the 55 moving average on the weekly. So that's definitely something to think about when us seeing that price again, right? If we can come down to that, at this point it's set around 31.9, right? If you can see us coming down to that, potential long position from there to think about. But yeah, potential long position from there to think about. And we do have the absolute bottom that we've got plotted out on this chart in terms of the volume weighted ATR band here. And that is sitting at around 27.7. And that's obviously the week term. That's obviously the weekly chart, the week term. In terms of the bull market barrier, as we were discussing a lot of last week because it was a crucial time for Bitcoin, we can see here, we've closed the weekly below it, right? We've closed the weekly below it, basically confirming. It is insane confirmation that we are now in a bear market, right? Sad times for crypto, because everything is obviously has dumped significantly, but it's accumulation time, baby. We need to buy that up. We need to buy that up. If it gets lower, buy more. If it gets lower, buy more. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. It's just my opinions and general, not guidance, but educational purposes, right? For me, what I'm going to be doing, the lower it goes, the more I'm buying, right? Continuously accumulating. So when we actually hit that new bull market, right? When we hit that new bull market and we do see a surge in the price of Bitcoin, all the other altcoins, they're obviously going to follow it, right? They're obviously going to follow it like they have done this run. And people are still talking about $1,000 Bitcoin, $100,000 Bitcoin for the end of the year, right? Price target around up here. So if we can get to there, if we're accumulating all this this whole bear market that we've got going on here, we're going to be looking at significant gains to the upside, right? So in terms of educational advice, I'm just going to be accumulating as much as I physically can, right? As much as I physically can for that next surge to the upside for when we reclaim this bull market barrier. But let me talk about the rounded blue box zone right now. Let's talk about the rounded blue box zone indicator that I use. It's basically a linear regressional growth curve from the start of Bitcoin to now. As you can see right now, we are trying to find a nice level of support. This is obviously the weekly chart, right? We're trying to find a nice level of support on this level of support, this in the indicator, right? The linear regressional growth curve is part of that at around 36,500, right? We're trying to find a level of support on the weekly. Obviously, it's the weekly. Let's jump down to the 12-hour, see if we can see. Just double checking my audio was on. Streamed like the other day with 20 minutes no audio, right? But yeah, obviously, if we can find a nice level of support, it's a potential long position, right? It's a potential long position because, as you can see, every time we clear one of these blue box zones, we are looking at a long to the upside, right? We're looking at a long to the upside. Obviously, we need to close above it, long to the upside, and then we take in profit at all of these yellow lines that we got going on here, right? Continuous, like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. And that's basically what we do with this indicator. If we can get a nice close above it, we're going to be taking along, having a nice take profit here, nice take profit here, nice take profit here, and potentially finding a nice level of resistance here to basically bring us back down. Because obviously, we're in a bear market now, right? So we're not always going to go up, right? Last year was just, well, the start of this year was just going up, right? It was just going up. Now, in terms of a bit of proof of this rounded blue box zone that we've got going on here, let me get rid of the lower zones, right? Get rid of the lower zones. So just obviously it loads a bit better. And the bull market barrier, right? I do have fiber, but it's never reliable, right? And there's plenty of people streaming at this point in time in my house, right? So, yeah, so as you can see here, if we leave these blue box zones, right? If we leave these blue box zones, we're looking at a long position to the upside, right? So we close there. Bang, all the way up. We're taking profit all the way up, right? That's a lovely 16% trade there. Let's go again, right? Let's go again. Another trade to the upside here. Bang, taking profit all the way up. So that's another 16% there. Another one that we've got going on here, taking profit all the way up, right? Another 16% trade that we're going on here. Obviously, we do have the occasional stop out, right? We do have the occasional stop out, but as you can see here, we did enter the position here. Our take profit would have been here. Still a 1%, 1.45% trade there going on. But yeah, this blue box zone is what I'm going to be trading into this bear market that we've got going on here. Because let me jump back, right? Let me jump back in time to when we did actually enter that bear market at the start, right? Yeah, when we entered that bear market at the start, and I'll explain some short positions for the resistance that we find on these blue box zones. And as you can see here, potential short position here. We short it. And it's basically the opposite. We're taking profit as we're going down on these yellow lines, right? So that's a nice 15% there. Another one here. We find that resistance from there. 24% there. And basically every time we lose a zone, we're going to be shorting it, right? We're going to be shorting it to the next zone here. We're going to be shorting it down to the next zone. And that's what we basically do in the bull market. We're going to be longing it. In the bear market, we're going to be shorting it, right? And that's basically the blue box zones pretty much explained to an extent. We do never actually see the bottom of the blue box zone here. We never actually see the bottom of the blue box zone, apart from when, obviously, COVID hit, or we see some sort of black swan event, right? Apart from when COVID hit back in, obviously, March and everything locked down, and all the markets basically took a shit. That was basically when we lost it, and we tried to reclaim it, and then, obviously, we had all the other lockdowns from there, and that obviously caused the markets to do a bit of shaking as well. So in terms of the bottom for this indicator that we've got going on here, that's the only time we've ever lost the bottom. So if we are going to be, well, obviously we're entering this bear market now. The absolute bottom of this bear market, which we've got plotted out from this linear regressional growth curve, is 17,000. Right? I can't see it's going below, any Bitcoin going below 17,000. It's quite scary to think. And for me, if we even get to 20,000, it's an insane accumulation point for me, because I'm still a big believer in Bitcoin seeing that $100,000 mark. Right? I can see that happening. I can see that happening without fail, right? Without fail. Bitcoin is strong. It's just taking a bit of a hit at the moment, right? It's a correction, right? It's a correction. We need it. We need it. We've been pumping all year. We've been pumping all year. It's just been going up all year. So we did need that correction pretty soon. In terms of if we're looking at a price reversal now, if we're looking at a target to get over and back inside this bull market barrier, to switch it back to a bull market, or to see some more uncertainty in the market like so, we'll be looking at a $43,000 target. In terms of getting there, I don't see a lot of momentum to the upside at this point. It just keeps going down, and we do obviously have, not that one there, we do obviously have this pretty dominant trend line to think about before we even think about this $43,000 mark. And as you can see, as you know, in the price of Bitcoin and the price of all cryptos at the moment, we come up to this point, we have a surge to the upside, we come up to this point, we see the resistance, and we just get battered from there, right? We just get battered from there, deep sea diving and all that stuff there. So that's sort of the long term for Bitcoin sort of summed up there. I'm just going to jump onto some altcoins. In terms of altcoins at this point in time, if you look at the top 50, they're all up. They're all up a hell of a lot, right? Some are even up like 30, 40%, which is nice to see, right? Which is really nice to see, because obviously it has been insane dumpage to the downside recently, right? In terms of XRP, we still haven't really recovered, right, properly. We're looking at, I want to see a dollar XRP again. I want to see a dollar XRP again. But at this point in time, it's just a bit of an accumulation zone, right? It's just a bit of an accumulation zone. In terms of the next level of resistance which we have to break is just over a dollar, right? I'm just gonna have some water. It's just over a dollar, right? $1.03 to be exact, right? But in terms to get there, this is obviously the midterm for XRP if you want to copy this on your chart. In terms of getting there, we are going to need to find a nice level of support on this volume weighted ATR band. As you can see here, we do primarily respect it continuously. Let me jump back into the charts. If we're not respecting it, then we're trading above it or below it. As you can see here, we are trading above it, below it here. So as you can see, once we have reclaimed it, we basically ride the wave along it. We lost it again. We reclaimed it. We ride the wave along it. At this point in time, in terms of live price action for XRP, we did lose it, right? We did lose it. We reclaimed it. And I could basically potentially see us coming down to 81 cents there and then having a nice little test zone, right? And this is obviously the midterm, a nice little test zone there on this volume weighted ATR band. But things to think about right now in terms of XRP, we do have a pretty dominant trend going on here. It's like Donald Trump. Yeah, we obviously do have this price channel coming down, and we do have this test to the upside, which we're trying to basically find support on. But at this point, we are looking at, we're going to get a bit of resistance. But we do have the volume weighted ATR band to the bottom side of this here. So we could see some called up movements and then a break to the upside, right? And then the next point that we are looking at testing is the 21 moving average for XRP. And in terms of horizontal resistance point, as I said, $1, that's looking very juicy indeed. If we can get up there, find a nice level of support on there, then we're going to be looking at testing the 55, right? That's the ideal scenario. If we aren't going to find support on this top side of this channel that we've got going on here, if we aren't going to find support there, then we are going to be looking at basically falling down, right? We're going to be looking at falling down, price coming down, and basically testing the bottom side of this channel, right? Not ideal, but in terms of XRP at this point in time, we've just been trading in terms of a downtrend. We've just been falling off a cliff, right? Not good at all. We are looking at surges to the upside in terms of portfolio gains, right? In terms of measure moves, right? In terms of a measure move to the upside, what we're looking at, if we are going to be looking at a long here, I'd be waiting for the test of this volume weighted ATR band and see the price action there before I'd be entering this long, and I'd be definitely taking some profit at this 21 moving average here. But you can see it lines up perfectly with this level of resistance here at around just over $1, right? In terms of a percent for that trade to think about, we are going to be looking at a nice 23% gain, right? 23% gain, lovely little swing there for XRP if we can get there, right? In terms of that's obviously in terms of the uptrend, right? In terms of a long position to the upside. If we're looking at a trade to the downside, it's looking pretty horrendous. It's looking pretty horrendous. Obviously, depending on where we're going to break along this line, we're going to be seeing a nice 24-cent XRP. Dreadful. Don't see that happening anytime soon because XRP basically holds its own, and I think it's going to be one of my 5 that go opposite to the bear run, right? I think we're going to see a nice price reversal because in terms of altcoins themselves, XRP has actually got a huge use, right? It's used for international transfers by a lot of well-established banks internationally, right? So it's definitely fundamental to think about when trading XRP and hodling XRP because I think we are going to see some insane stuff even in a bear market for XRP there. On the RSI right now, on the midterm for XRP, we're pretty central, right? We did get oversold here. And now we're getting that buying power to the upside. We could see a swift rejection and getting oversold again, but that's basically what I said. We are going to see an initial dump from there and test the lower side of this channel, right? Don't see that happening today. I can see us finding support, and I can see us basically probably riding this 21 moving average all the way up to this this horizontal resistance point at around just over $1, right? That basically bring us to a nice healthy point on the RSI in terms of buying power. But we do have this pretty dominant trend line coming down, right, in terms of the RSI here. So we are likely to find quite a significant amount of resistance from that point, right, in terms of selling power. So if we are going to come up and test this level of resistance here, just over $1, I can see a pretty swift rejection from there. So that's definitely something to consider when trading XRP and something to consider in that long position, because if we aren't going to get all the way up on the RSI in terms of buying power, we're likely to see a rejection from this 21 moving average here, right? So that could basically mean a lovely take profit point here. I mean, it's not going to be huge. It's not going to be a massive trade, but it's still 7 to 8%, still lovely indeed, just shy of 8% there. And obviously this is the midterm, right? This is the midterm for XRP. So if we're going to jump to like the short term for me, the 15-minute, the scalping chart here, you can see we are looking at testing this level of support at 83 cents. We are going to potentially find support there, but we haven't quite tested it just yet. But at this point in time, we are currently over this major trend line that we've got coming down here, and we're currently finding quite a bit of resistance here off the 200. So ideally, I'd be looking at a nice level of support on the 200 moving average here on the short term, and a nice level of support here at around 53, and that'd be the indication that we are going to come up, right? And then obviously, yeah, that lines up 92 there, potentially lines up perfectly with just about with the moving average the 21 moving average that we've got going here on the midterm, right? So that is definitely a take profit point that I'd be looking at in terms of this trade to the upside. But in terms of an entry we're looking at right now, we do obviously have this this major trend line coming down on the top side of this channel, right? So I'll be looking at definitely finding support there, and that could potentially be the entry, because as you can see, I don't get in straight away. I like to get in on the retest. Let's look at the price on the retest and then get in from there. One, you get a better entry, and two, if you are going to get a nice stop out, potentially around this 0.81 mark on the short term, it's not going to be big, right? It's not going to be big, right? So say if we got in, if we found support on this horizontal support line at the moment and we put our stop loss down here. It's literally a 3% stop loss, which is nothing really compared to a nice 10% move like that, right, in terms of a swing. So yeah, it's definitely something to think about when trading XRP. Right now, in terms of other altcoins, if you guys want to get your other altcoins in the chat, and I can do some TA for you there as well. But in terms of, let me just jump to, I'm very bullish on ADA and always have been, and I can see, look at that buying power to the upside for ADA, Cardano, baby. Let's jump to this this hourly time frame, right? This hourly time frame. Let's just sit on this for a minute. I'm just gonna have some water. Yeah, so someone's requesting DOT in the chat, right? I'm just gonna do ADA. And that's Guru Kieran. I'm just going to do ADA, and then I'm going to do DOT for you there, Kieran. But guys, if you're enjoying the stream, smash that like button up. Helps me out tremendously. Obviously, I'm a new streamer. I'll be doing this every day. If you never want to miss one of my uploads, I do my alt-gen videos as well. Smash that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you're never going to miss more uploads, basically. But yeah, straight back into it in terms of ADA that we've got going on here. Obviously, this dominant trend line coming from the top side of this downtrend that we're currently in. As you can see, we are looking at some sort of pattern looking like so. Pretty falling wedge to me, right, in terms of the short term for ADA right now. We are currently looking at testing the top side. Well, we have tested the top side of this trend line that we've got going on here, and we have found a nice level of support on this 55 moving average, right? So in terms of what I think could happen right now, in terms of just looking at the price action, we are looking at resistance from this top side, and we're looking at a nice test of this 55 pretty imminently, and that basically brings the price down to $1.40. If anyone's in any short positions, good for you, that's great. But if you're in a long position, I wouldn't be looking, it's not looking good, right? It's not looking good in terms of just looking at the price action, right? In terms of the RSI right now, we are looking near enough overbought, right? We're looking near enough overbought, and that basically explains, right, this surge to the upside that we've seen with ADA recently over the last day or so, because ADA is great, right? ADA, a lot of people are bullish on ADA regardless of what's going to happen to Bitcoin because of all the stuff that they're going to do with Africa. If you don't know about that personally, have a research, because they're trying to basically do some amazing stuff with Africa and basically give everyone a chance, right? And in terms of like giving everyone credit score and identity and all that stuff for the less fortunate people in the world, right? Which is great stuff. And if they are to succeed, it's going to see a lot of money basically get put into Cardano, right? A lot of money, and that's obviously going to surge the price to the upside. In terms of the MACD right now, we are looking at the horizontal point at around this level, at around 0.4. We are still in the uptrend. We're pretty far away from a bearish crossover happening anytime soon, so we are looking at basically potentially respecting this sort of line here, or we're not, right? Or we're not, and this trend cycle basically happened like that, and then we're over, and we are looking at setting a potential higher high in terms of a gain to the upside, right? In terms of a gain to the upside, and that would initiate for me that we are going to see a break in the price to the upside today, and that basically, in terms of a measure move, in terms of a long trade, we could be looking at something along the lines of this, right? Obviously, depending on where we're going to break along this trend line that we've got going on here, but in terms of measure move to the upside, we could be looking at something along the lines of this. Obviously, we do have a lot of resistance to get through in terms of horizontal lines here, and obviously, we got the 200 moving average here as well. In terms of percentages for that trade, which could be coming through, it's looking like a 25%. Definitely want to watch over the next few days as well. If we are to break this trend line as well, I probably will do an emergency announcement on this, because I do like ADA, and it is pretty big in my portfolio, right? I do like ADA, and for me, it's so cheap right now. It's just so cheap, right? I'm basically accumulating every time we come down, right? Because by the time we are going to come up, I can see some insane gains for ADA, right? Some insane gains for ADA in the future. Could be 3 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years, but it is definitely something that I'm insanely bullish on, right? Insanely bullish on. And I do believe we are going to have insane surges to the upside once crypto sorts itself out, right? Once crypto sorts itself out, right? But in terms of a long trade right now, waffling on. In terms of a long trade right now, that is going to be what I'm going to be looking at entering if we are to clear this moving average that we've got going on here. And basically taking profit at all these horizontal resistance points here, right? Nice 1.56, 1.73, 1.81, that sort of mark, right? But as I was saying, on the MACD that we've got going on here, we are looking at a new uptrend cycle. So that could initiate a surge in the price, and that could initiate basically coming up and testing this level of this horizontal level resistance point at 1.56. And then we're probably going to see a bearish crossover on the MACD here. And then a potential, downtrend forming. But as you can see here on the downtrend side, we do have that on nice lower low around this point here. I mean, it's not going to be huge. It's not going to be a huge downtrend as far as I'm aware, unless we are to break this dominant trend line that we've got going on here. So I can see it basically just consolidating, right? We're going to just have a consolidation period, a nice sideways period, potentially riding the top side of this trend line. So it's definitely something to consider when trading ADA today, right? Let me jump straight to DOT, right? I'm going to jump straight to DOT for Guru Kieran there. Straight to DOT here. As you can see, let me delete the old stuff on the chart that we had going on there. As you can see, like, measure move to the downside. Very nice and juicy there, right? It's all a bit of a mess, right? Let me get rid of all this. Yeah, bit of a mess. I haven't done DOT since all this lovely stuff happened here. I can see sort of a channel coming down here, right? Sort of a nice channel coming down here, something along the lines of this. Not the healthiest in the world. I would have liked another touch to the downside here, and that would have been a bit more confirmation in terms of price action here. But as what's happening on quite a few of the charts here, my voice went really high then. As what's happening on quite a few of the charts here, we are looking at breaking this trend line here. We're looking at breaking this this trend line that we've got coming down on this falling channel. And looking at testing this 55 moving average on the hourly time frame, right? The next level of support we need to find, right? At the moment, it's resistance the next level that we need to break in terms of resistance, right, is 21.1 here, and that's for DOT, right? So if you're looking at a position, we could be looking at potential long if we are to basically hold our own on top of this 55 moving average and on top of this major trend line for this falling channel that we've got going on the short term, right? Let's jump to the midterm right now. We do have this volume weighted ATR band, which we're looking at testing, right? And as I've said before, we do find a lot of support on this volume weighted ATR band. If we don't find support on it, we're trending below it, right? We're trending below it. We always reclaim it, right? We always reclaim it. And let me jump back in time. Let's jump back in time. As you can see here, support. Nice levels of support here. Really healthy. Really, really healthy for this indicator here. Near enough there, but not quite there. This is the 4 hour, right? Not quite there, not quite there, not quite there. Fell off a cliff there, right? That is the data that I've got for DOT there, right? So yeah, so as you can see, we did find quite a lot of support on it, right? Why is that so small? Right, yeah, quite a lot of support on it, right? So as you can see, if we do reclaim it, if we find a nice level of support on it, I can see us basically going to the upside, and that's basically another initiation that we are gonna basically surge to the upside and see some sort of measure move looking along the lines of this and testing this level of support at around $25, right? In order for that to happen, we are going to need to find support on this volume weighted ATR band. We are going to need to find support on this 21 moving average. So if you are looking at a long position, I would be looking at potential take profits. Potential take profit looking obviously around this point. That is still a lovely 8%, but what you would be going for would be a nice big juicy 30% near enough there. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking at going the whole way because we are going to see some selling power to the downside. It's not just going to keep going up, right? But in order to even contemplate entering that, we are going to need to clear this volume weighted ATR band, and we are going to need to see some progression to the upside from there. Because obviously you can see here, if we don't respect the volume weighted ATR band, as you can see, we have tested it multiple times here. We do see that downwards power, right? Nearly swore there. This downwards selling power, right? So we could see a lot of momentum to the downside if we aren't going to find support in it, right? And as you can see, we have tested it here. And look, we did test it here quite a few times. So don't be trapped out by that, because we could basically surge to the downside from there, and that'll basically initiate us coming down to around $13 for DOT there. God, that'd be awful, wouldn't it? But remember, like, we are in a bear market now. There's definitely something to think about. The price could completely dump off a cliff, and these surges in price to the upside, this is basically like, oh yeah, we're going to get everyone in, we're going to get everyone confident on potentially DOT again, and then we're going to dump the price, right? And that's basically could continue for a significant amount of time, right? And that's basically DOT right now. And look, you can see we've cleared the volume weighted ATR on the long term, which is great. But yeah, I'd be waiting for that on the short term in terms of a summary for that long position there. Yeah, let me have a little look at. Let me drink some water. Oh, let's look at MATIC. Let's have a little look at MATIC, right? MATIC at this point in time. Very messy chart again by myself. Yeah, let's jump down to the 1 hour, right? Let's jump down to the 1 hour. Cool, that surge in price to the upside is just crazy, right? The surge in price to the upside is just crazy right now. At this point in time, we are looking at finding quite a bit of resistance, right? Quite a bit of resistance on this 200. As you can see, the price is moving at this point while I'm live, right? We can find quite a lot of resistance at this point on the 200 moving average here. If we are looking at finding support here, we could be looking at coming up and testing the major side of this. I think we have a giant channel going on here. Just through memory on the long term, right? Yeah, we do. Giant channel to the upside. If we are looking at coming up and testing that, I mean, look at that surge of buying power to the upside there. It would be, it's something to think about when trading MATIC, right? We would be seeing a near enough a $1.80 MATIC anytime soon. But what I'm saying here is be careful, because this surge of buying power, right? Bring up the RSI here. Look, we are overextended. We're overbought, right? So that obviously is going to initiate a lot of selling power to the downside, right? We could potentially see a rejection from around this point here. But that's basically an initiation that we are going to come down off this 200. We are going to basically try and find support on this 1.21 and this 55 and the 21 coming up as well. And they're nearly due a crossover. So that basically means a surge in the price as well. So those are things to think about on the midterm for MATIC. At this point in time, I would not be entering any sort of position to the upside, because obviously look at this. This at this point it's all blue, right? It's all blue to the upside. Oh, I don't actually have my price my channel on. Let me get that on quickly. Show price action channel. Yeah, this is a great indication. It basically plots out all the major moving averages in one. And if we're red, like the candles are red, we're in a downtrend. If they're blue, we're in an uptrend, right? Great sort of indication for positions. At this point in time, as I said, we are finding resistance on this point, and we have had an insane surge of buying power to the upside, right? In terms of percent, we're looking at near enough 100%, 83% in terms of buying power to the upside since we saw a near enough bottom for MATIC there. So I wouldn't be entering any sort of position to the upside unless I can see a significant amount of support on this 200 moving average here, and that is basically the short term. In terms of what's happening at the moment on the midterm, we are basically testing the price action channel, testing the 55 moving average, and currently finding resistance from it. And I could basically see us potentially finding resistance from it, coming down and finding a level of support at the 21 moving average at $1.33 MATIC, right? And that's basically an indication that we are going to come down, see a reversal on the RSI on the short term, and basically see a bearish crossover on the MACD here. But as you can see, we have set a high on the MACD here. So in terms of what could be happening next, we could just be starting a nice little uptrend, and this could be one of the altcoins, because when we are in a bear market for Bitcoin, right, in terms of crypto as well, a few of the altcoins tend to not follow suit, right? And MATIC is definitely on my list. It's definitely on my list for one that I don't think is going to follow suit in terms of price action, in terms of the common trend of the top 50 cryptos, right? I don't think it's going to be following suit. I think MATIC is definitely one to watch, right? It's insane one to watch over the next few months or so, because we could see a complete price reversal, new all-time highs set. I mean, look at this price action. What's going on here? This is just insane surges to the upside, right? So it's definitely something to think about in the future for MATIC. And don't be fooled if Bitcoin's dumping off a cliff. MATIC might not be, right? But yeah, in terms of what I think could happen, we are going to see a price reversal, and that is basically for MATIC, right? But yeah, we do have this high being set on the MACD here, so I could basically see potentially a high low being set in the future if we do see a bullish crossover once we've seen this a bearish crossover and a new trend to the downside. But as I said, I can see us basically coming down, probably finding support on this 1.3 mark, 1.2 mark, around the 55 on the short term. But as I said, on the midterm here, the next point to basically find support on is this 21 moving average, and that is at 1.33, right? In terms of the MACD on the midterm for MATIC at this point in time, we are looking at literally the early starts of this trend, right? Early starts of this trend, and we did see a pretty dominant downtrend, right? A pretty dominant downtrend, and that was basically it's just falling off a cliff and basically following Bitcoin, right? But at this point in time, we have got to break this high here at around 0.6, but at this point in time, we are at 0.03, so we got a bit of a way to go yet. But this being so small in terms of the MACD here, in terms of the bullish crossover happening not too long ago, right now we are looking at potential surge to the upside, and that could be the potential test of this zone here. But as I said, we do need to clear this 200 moving average and find a significant level of support on that there, right? Definitely something to think about when trading MATIC. But the reason why this has basically happened right now is because you can basically see this dominant trend line coming down, right? We've got this dominant trend line coming down from the top side of MATIC, all-time highs being set there. We have actually broke that. So if we are going to come down, I would see a basic consolidation period around 1.3, and then hopefully another wave up to the upside from there. I wouldn't be entering any long positions anytime soon, in my opinion, right? Just my opinion. Not financial advice, guys. If you're liking this stream, smash up that thumbs up button. Turn that thumbs up blue. Helps me out tremendously. In terms of algorithms and stuff. And also, if you want to trade with me every day, if you want to trade with me every morning, Monday to Friday, I'll be streaming every single morning, right? For an hour or two. How long have we been going today? We've been going 47 minutes, right? Yeah, I'll be trading with you guys for an hour or two every single morning. So just hit that subscribe button if you never want to miss one of my streams. And I also do quite a lot of altcoin videos and stuff like that as well. So yeah, hit that notification bell. You're never going to miss one of my uploads, right? Now, let me jump to Binance Coin. Let me see. As you can see, we obviously do have this broadening wedge coming down here. Get rid of that. Yeah, get rid of that because we did break that. Let me see here. As you can see, we do have a dominant trend line, right? Let me draw that in. We do have a dominant trend line. Let me jump to the 12-hourly here. Obviously, you can see we are finding level of support on this volume-weighted ATR band here, and we are seeing a significant amount of buying power. We bottomed out down at around $210 for BNB. I am insanely bullish on BNB. What they're doing in terms of blockchain, I think we do have a significant amount of a long way to go in terms of buying power for BNB, right? A long way to go. Now, in terms of what's happening on the midterm right now, it's pretty much the same as a lot of the charts, right? We do have dominant trend lines coming down, as you can see, but we are still away from crossing it, right? We're still quite away from crossing this this dominant trend line coming down from the top side. In terms of getting that, in terms of breaking that, we are going to need to find a level of support on this 200 moving average that we've got going on here. And at this point in time, it's looking... Oh, that's the wrong one. It's looking... I mean, it's looking bearish. I mean, it's looking bullish right now at this point because obviously we're seeing this surge in price and we're seeing the respect of this trend line and the respect of this horizontal support level at 233 on the midterm for BNB. But in terms of what I think could potentially happen in terms of just looking at the price, I think we are going to see quite a heavy test and heavy resistance off this 21 moving average that we've got going on here. In terms of buying power to the upside, which we're looking at, in terms of the RSI, we do obviously have this pretty dominant trend, right? I keep saying obviously. We do have this dominant trend coming down, which we're looking at testing quite soon. So we could be looking at finding some level of resistance from that at around the 21 moving average here. Basically correlates with what I was just saying. So we could potentially see some selling power from there. And that basically mean a reversal in the price and then coming down to test this level of support at around 231. Wouldn't be great, really. Wouldn't be great for BNB, but obviously you've got to think we are in a bear market now, so you do need to think about these things when trading BNB, right? Because it's not just going to go up as it has done since the start of the year, right? In terms of trends on the MACD for the midterm, right now for BNB, we are looking at a higher high being set. We're looking at that bullish crossover. It has just happened, right? We're quite far away from a bearish crossover anytime soon, but that doesn't mean we could see a surge to the downside, right, in terms of selling power, in terms of respecting this this trend line on the RSI that we've got going on here. At this point in time, if we are going to see a reversal in the price, we do have to think about how big that trend's going to be to the downside. We do have this dominant lower low here to think about because we could be seeing a horizontal level of support in terms of a downtrend here, or we could be seeing a trend line coming along sideways to the bottom side, looking something like this, right? Something looking along the lines of this. So we do need to think about that in terms of a level of support for BNB if we are going to see a downtrend happening anytime soon. But that basically initiates that if we do see a crossover on the MACD here, probably later on and after the resistance of this 21 here, we are going to see basically to come down, but not come down a significant amount and set a lower low. I don't think, because we do have this level of support here in a sense, right? And then we will be testing this level of support. Basically initiates that we're going to come down and test this level of support at $230 there, right? That is basically BNB sort of summed up in terms of if we are going to break this falling channel to the top side here, we are going to be looking at some sort of measure move looking along the lines of this. Obviously be careful, it's going to be very trappy with trading crypto today, because if you just look at the charts right now, everything's up, right? A lot of things are up. I can't see anything that's really down. Maybe one stable coin that's down 0.01% or something stupid. But yeah, everything's up at the moment. So I think there's going to be a lot of traps, and people are going to be God, Luna's up 50%. That's crazy. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of traps right now. So all these long positions which are looking at playing out in terms of chart patterns, they're not all going to come through, right? They're not all going to come through. It's not going to be like, right, everyone, time for everyone to long the market. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And obviously, if we are going to be looking at a long position, we are going to be looking at clearing this volume weighted ATR band, which is this green line here, because obviously we do find quite heavy resistance from that. In terms of support that we find on that, we do find a nice level of support on that usually, right? Usually, obviously, this is the 4 hour. If we jump to the hourly chart right now, where's that price action gone? Yeah, if we jump to the hourly chart right now, we would be looking at along the lines of finding the nice level of support on it here, as you can see here. And if we don't find support on it, we'd usually trend below it, right? We usually trend below it and then reclaim it, and then find support on it from there, as you can see here. We did significantly lose it here, but as I just said there, we do basically reclaim it and then trade above it, right? So definitely something to think about in terms of Binance Coin right now. I think that was on the long term. Yeah, the midterm, we do have this volume weighted ATR band to get over here. So if we are looking at a surge to the upside in terms of price, in terms of a measure move to be completed, in terms of a long position, we need to clear the 21 moving average. We need to clear the volume weighted ATR band because we could see a significant sell-off from there, and that could basically mean you're going to get stopped out pretty imminently. In terms of a percent for where we're looking at getting in that long position, obviously there is a lot of resistance coming down, so that's definitely things to think about in terms of taking profit all the way up. In terms of a measure move, right, that's 26%, which is a lovely trade, right? It's a lovely swing trade, something to think about over the next day or so, because obviously this is the 4 hour chart, right? If you've got any requests, altcoins, buy dot or not, buy BTC or wait. At this point in time, let me summarize for BTC for you, man. Was that Manav Kashushil? Sorry if I said that wrong, bro. I always like to try and pronounce stuff right. As you can see on the short term for Bitcoin at this point in time, we did discuss at the start of the stream, we're waiting to see this nice confirmation of buying pressure to the upside here for BTC on the short term. But if we are looking at a trade for BTC, right? If we're looking at a trade for BTC at this point in time, we're looking at a measure move, looking along the lines of this, and we're looking at an entry, right? We're looking at an entry if we can find a nice level of support on this trend line. And the hourly candle is going to close in 2 minutes time. So we are going to see some potential price action from there as well. Let's jump to the 4 hour right now. We do have 3 hours left on the 4 hour, right? We do have 3 hours left on the 4 hour, which we need to basically look at quite a lot at the moment because we do have this volume weighted ATR band coming down, and that is this green line that you've got going on here. I'm not sure if you can see that very well on my chart. Hopefully you can. It's very thin. It's a very thin line, but as you can see, we do find a lot of resistance from that line. We find a lot of resistance from that line, and if we don't find a level of support on it, right? If we don't find a level of support on it, then that basically initiates what's going on here in terms of price action for Bitcoin. It is a bit of a trap, and if you are to enter along here before we've closed this 3 hour candle here, we're looking at a potential stop out here if we are to lose the support that we're currently finding on the volume weighted ATR band. So that's definitely something to think about when buying Bitcoin. But in terms of hodling Bitcoin, this is the bull market barrier, right? This is the bull market barrier. If we're in a bull market, an uptrend market, we're going to be blue, right? If we're in a downtrend market, we're going to be red. If we're yellow, we're uncertain. So at this point in time, we have switched to red. Unfortunately, that does mean we're in a bit of a bear market, right? We're in a bit of a bear market. So that basically means, right, we are going to be coming down pretty significantly, right? We're going to be coming down pretty significantly in my opinion. So in terms of hodling Bitcoin, I'd probably wait. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. It's just my opinions. I would probably wait because I think you are going to get some better prices, right? We're going to get some better prices. But don't let that fool you because we are seeing a lot of buying power to the upside, right? We are seeing a lot of buying power to the upside, and that could basically mean we come up and test the bottom side of this bull market barrier at around 42. But initially, I don't see us coming up further than that. I can see us basically seeing a retracement from there. And the reason why I say this, right? The reason why I say this on the long term, right? This is the 12 hour. As you can see, let me go to the last bull market that we had, right? The last bull market that we had, we came down significantly after we lost the bull market barrier here. We came down significantly, down to near enough 6,000, right? Crazy. And we basically came back up, right? We saw a nice surge in the price to the upside. Doesn't mean we're not in that. Doesn't mean we're straight up switching to that bull market. And that's probably what tricked a lot of people out, right? They probably were like, right, we're back at 11K, time to buy Bitcoin, right? And then it basically just trickled down from there. So what I'm saying is we could potentially come up, test the bottom side of this bull market barrier, and then basically trickle down from there, right? Definitely something to think about when hodling. In terms of percent, right? Look at that, 70% in Bitcoin, right, to the upside before we're even switching back to the downside. God, it's raining a lot. So definitely something to consider right now, because we could surge up to 42,000, as I was just saying. But from there, we just trickled down and we saw a 3K Bitcoin, right? So at this point in time, with this selling power to the downside and a lot of FUD in the market and a lot of uneducated traders in the market, right, we are potentially looking at coming up, trapping everyone back into Bitcoin at around 42, 43. And then dumping significantly from there. I would not be surprised, right? I would not be surprised. So in terms of hodling, I do think you are going to get a better price if you just hold on. If you hold on. In terms of a swing trade, that's what I'd be looking at for a swing trade for a break to the upside. Because even in a bear market, as I said, it's not just going to go down. We are going to see some surge of buying power to the upside. Just for the big whales tricking out the people, right? That's basically what I think of Bitcoin. But yeah, in terms of buy or wait right now, I would be waiting. I'd be waiting until we see some nice confirmation of a nice level of support at around 36,500, right? 36,500. If we can close that 4 hour candle above that, potentially also above the 21 moving average, which is sat at around 36.8, right? So I'll be looking at around 37, right? If you can find a nice level of support around 37 when this 4 hourly close, that is a nice potential long position up to the 55 moving average for around a 9% gain for Bitcoin, right? And that is Bitcoin, right? Now let me move to Solana. Solana, baby. Yeah, Solana. As you can see right now for Solana, it's pretty much the same sort of scenario in terms of an altcoin in itself. In terms of an altcoin for itself, it's pretty much just trending down with all the others, right? It is up 20% today, which is great. It's up 20% today, which is good, but don't let that fool you, because we have got this this major trend line coming down from the top side of Solana here. So it's definitely something to consider before entering any positions for that, right? We do have this trend coming down in terms of a price channel, which we're looking at respecting, right? We're looking at respecting at this time. In terms of the RSI right now, we're pretty central. We haven't really got that much going on the 4 hour. We're getting to the central point. We were oversold, so that's obviously why we're seeing this surge of buying power to the upside, because we do see a reversal. We are looking at a bullish crossover at this point on the MACD for the midterm. So that could initiate a surge in the price of the upside, which could initiate being a buying power on the RSI, and could basically initiate coming up and breaking this top side of this trend line, right? If we could break this top side of this trend line in terms of a measure move to the upside, we'd be looking at something along the lines of this, and that basically probably fall perfectly in line with this horizontal level of resistance at around $38, right? So that's definitely something to consider when entering a long position for Solana at this point in time. In terms of a percentage gain for that, we're looking at a 28% gain, which is very nice indeed. In terms of a long trade, right? In terms of the long term right now, we are testing the 200 moving average. Definitely something to consider. If we do find support on that in the next 12-hour candle to close, which is in 3 hours time, we will be looking at potentially a surge to the upside and testing this potential trend line, well, this trend line coming down at around 31, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Solana, and vice versa on the midterm. As you can see here, we are testing the 55 moving average. If we can find a nice level of support on that, I can see us basically coming up and testing this trend line at 31 as just stated there. But if not, we are going to see some resistance there and potentially coming down to test this 21 moving average here at 26. And if we are going to lose the 26, I can see us basically coming down and testing this volume weighted ATR band here as well, right? We are near enough oversold. We're near enough oversold on the RSI for the 1 hour, and I'm not surprised, right? We're up 20% today. I'm not surprised at all. So that basically initiates we are going to see a reversal in the price, and that initiates that we're not going to see a massive break to the upside anytime soon, in my opinion. In terms of the MACD right now, we're looking at horizontal point being respected in a sense, not quite broken yet in terms of a high, but we are still in an uptrend here. But as I said, we are pretty much near enough oversold here on the RSI, so I can see a bearish crossover happening within the next few hours or so, and that'll basically initiate that we are going to come down, potentially test the 21 from there. So definitely something to think about in terms of predictions for Solana. I don't see us breaking to the upside anytime soon. I can basically see us testing it, and that's basically referenced if we find support on this 200 moving average here as well. If we aren't going to find support on that at all, and we are going to basically see a surge to the downside, we could be looking at a point here of finding support at around $23, right? And that's obviously going to basically go on what Bitcoin does, because Bitcoin is basically pretty flaccid at the moment. It's only at 5%. We would like to see some more buying power from there, and that'll basically surge all the altcoins with it. But at this point in time, it's chilling, right? Bitcoin's chilling, right? It's chilling. Everyone's waiting. It's a waiting period to see whether we're going to break this major level of whether we're going to hold this major level of support on this trend line, and this major level of support at around 36, right? So it's a bit of a crucial point for Bitcoin right now. We could see it dump off a cliff. We could see it surge to the upside, and that'll obviously mean it's going to bring a lot of the altcoins with it. Now, I'm going to shoot off for a minute for a little break, but I'll be back. Just hit the hour mark. I'll be back pretty shortly. So yeah, if you like the stream, smash that like button. Helps me out tremendously. And I'll see you guys soon. Hi guys, welcome back to Crypto Chester. Thank you guys for staying around. I am now back. Let's jump straight back into a summary of Bitcoin, what's happening right now on the short term. As I said before, we are looking at waiting for the 4-hour close above the volume weighted ATR band here, and unfortunately, we have just lost that. At around 46,500. We are looking at a level of support at around 36,500. We are looking at a level of support around 36,000. So that's something to think about in terms of if we're going to surge to the downside from there. In terms of the RSI, we've got a lot. We need a significant amount of buying power to the upside to even touch this level of resistance that we've got going on here. But if we do get that, we are looking at basically breaking the 21 moving average and the volume weighted ATR band that we've got going on here, and basically looking at a measure move up from this falling wedge that we've got here. In terms of a percent for that, we're looking at something along the lines of this, right? We're looking at something along the lines of this, and that basically correlates perfectly with lining up with the 55 moving average. So it's definitely a position that I'd be looking at right now. Definitely a position I'd be looking at, but at this point in time, we are waiting for that 4-hourly close above the volume weighted ATR band to see a nice surge in the price from there, potentially bringing the price of Bitcoin up to around 40,000, right? That would be absolutely brilliant. As you can see on the hourly for that right now, we are looking to come down and test this level of support on this moving average that we've got going on here, on this major moving average that we've got going on here on this price channel on the short term here. As you can see, if we do find support on that, we are going to be finding support on the 55 moving average as well, and then that could basically indicate a surge to the upside in completion of this measure move, right? In terms of the RSI right now, if we are going to see some selling power to the downside, if we are going to lose this trend line to the upside of this channel and lose the 55 moving average here, the next level of support which we're looking to find is around 35,200, right? 35,200, and that basically initiates, if we are going to come down, we are going to basically find a level of support on this trend on the RSI here. And that'll initiate a buying power up from there, right? Unless we lose it. I don't think we're going to lose it right now in terms of the buying power for Bitcoin, because as you can see, it's pretty significant. I can basically see us finding support and then consolidating and riding along this trend line before a potential dump to the downside or a potential dump to the upside, obviously depending on the price action and what's going to happen, right? As you can see, that's obviously the short term for Bitcoin. In terms of the MACD right here, in terms of the MACD, what we've got going on here, a new trend cycle, a new higher high being set on this trend here. So we are looking at basically seeing some sort of trend playing out like this, and that's basically another indication that we are going to consolidate and just see probably not so much that much selling power, because obviously we've got this level of support on this trend of this downtrend on this trend line for the MACD here. So that basically initiates that we're not looking at dumping too far. We're not going to fall off an absolute cliff here if we are going to see some downwards pressure. Basically probably coming up, reclaiming this price channel to the downside, and then basically riding it down from there, right? Because remember, we are in a bear market now, so we are likely to go down, right? We're likely to go down and swing to the upside to trap people in, and basically have that sort of price action, right? So it's definitely something to consider when trading, Bitcoin especially. But yeah, in terms of a break to the upside, that's the measure move we'll be looking at for Bitcoin. In terms of the long term right now, we saw a nice lower low set at 30,000, right? So a nice lower low set at 30,000 and a higher high around 42. A lower high around 42 there. So we are looking at setting a lower high here at around 47 and potentially progressing down from there, obviously depending on where the 12-hour candle closes and in 2 hours and 45 minutes. But as you can see, that dominant trend line on all the time frames for Bitcoin here is very, very visible here on the long term for Bitcoin. So yeah, it's definitely something. If we can test that, I can see us basically surging up to around 43,000, testing the bottom side of this bull market barrier here. And that also correlates perfectly with the rounded blue box zone indicator, which I use as well. If we can get a nice close above 36, around 36.5, right? If we can get a nice candle close above 36.5 on the 12-hour, I'd be looking at a long position potentially coming up to around 43, testing the bottom side of that bull market barrier as it did in the previous bull market, right? Definitely something to consider. That's basically Bitcoin summed up for now. A little summary on there on the price action for that, what we're waiting for. At this point in time, we'd be looking at a long, in a sense. We'd be looking at a long if we can get the right support basically plotted out and the right candle closes in the right places, right? But yeah, that's Bitcoin summed up. Let's jump back to some altcoins. If you've got any altcoins, guys, dump them in the chat, and I will I'll get to them when I can get to them. For now, I'm going to jump onto do a bit of Rune, right? Let's do a bit of Rune. as I said, a minute ago, a lot of the charts are looking pretty similar right now, because obviously they are all following Bitcoin pretty congruently, right? So at this point in time, it is going to be trappy, right? It's going to be really trappy because everything's up, right? Everything's up. There's a lot of buying power to the upside, so it's likely everyone's going to be getting in and they're going to be dumping the price pretty significantly, right? They're going to be dumping the price pretty significantly. And then everyone's screwed, right? Everyone's screwed because they're going to dump the price. They're going to trick you into buying, dump the price, and then that's basically it, right? That's basically it. The price is going to surge to the downside. And yeah, as you can see here, we do have a downwards falling wedge that we've got going on here. So tight today. As you can see, we've got a falling wedge coming on down here, and we are looking at a measure move completion for that if we can see enough buying power to the upside, right? In terms of a measure move for that, right now we're looking at around there. Oh, we have actually completed that measure move, which was great. So congratulations to anyone who saw that and got in that trade. Very nice indeed. And because we completed that measure move, that basically indicates that we are going to basically come down from there. Because, yep, as predicted, near enough overextended in the RSI on the short term here, because obviously that buying power has just been insane, right? That buying power, that surge of buying power that we've seen this morning, it's been insane indeed, right? So yeah, we are going to see some sort of price reversal as what we're seeing now. I could potentially see us coming down and testing that $9 mark on the 55 moving average on the short term. In terms of the long term right now, we have just broke that that falling wedge as drawn on the short term. We didn't quite get as high as the 200 moving average here, but obviously it's quite a parabolic candle that we've got going on here in terms of buying power on the long term. So we are looking at basically coming down and seeing that correction over the next 2 to 3 hours, yeah? 2 to 3 hours. But yeah, as you can see, we did actually get oversold on the RSI. Obviously, this is back when we dumped, right? So that basically initiates we are seeing that buying power to the upside, and that's what basically this is right now, right? That's what this is right now, that parabolic candle that we've got going on here. So yeah, that's the buying power. So hopefully we can get enough and return to the central point of the RSI here. But at this point in time, as I just said, I can see us basically seeing some sort of retracement. Maybe the next candle, this candle closed in the middle here. Next candle, we're going to see up and test this 200 moving average we've got going on here. But I don't see it happening in this candle. Due to that measure move being completed on the short term here. We are not quite due a bullish crossover yet, but you can see the idea of it happening sometime soon, and this lower sort of trend fizzling out from there. This downtrend fizzling out from there, and then we're going to see a bullish crossover, and then basically a new trend to the upside from there. So in terms of what I think could basically happen, we're going to fizzle out. This candle's going to end, as I just said. We are going to fizzle out over the next 2 hours and 41 minutes. Then we could potentially see a nice close, a bullish crossover on the MACD there, and then a nice surge to the upside, a new trend being created on the MACD there. Definitely something to consider when trading Rune. When trading Rune, right? When trading Rune. Let's jump to the short term quickly. In terms of the point where we're looking to bounce at this point in time, we're looking to bounce at this 55 moving average at $8.09 and potentially see a bounce up for there. If you're looking for a nice little scalp, you could potentially enter a long position on the bounce of this moving average and then basically take profit at this horizontal level of resistance here. Still very juicy 16% trade, and then obviously have your stop loss at around this price action channel and the 21 moving average, which is $8.40. So your entry would be at $9. Your stop loss would be at around $8.40, maybe just below it, just in case we wick there and you don't get stopped out quickly before a price reversal. So you're looking at a 5% stop loss and a 16% take profit. Very nice stuff indeed, if we can see that nice surge to the upside. But remember, as I said, on the long term, we are looking at fizzle out next hour or so. So that basically could bring the price back down, and you could be looking at a better entry if you hold off at the 55, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Rune. Let's jump to VET, right? Guys, if you've got any altcoins, dump them in the chat there. Let's jump to VET, VeChain, baby. As you can see, as I said, it's pretty much the same thing on most of these altcoin charts at this point in time. At this point in time, is pretty much the same thing on the daily. Look, we're all just reversing in the price, right? We're all just reversing in price, and then we're seeing that surge to the upside, and that's why a lot of the altcoins today are basically up, right? Let's jump to the. I think it's a lot more interesting on the short term at the moment because they are actually a bit different, more different on the short term. They're all kind of playing out the same sort of patterns in terms of the long term. But yeah, so as you can see, dominant trend line coming down, which we have just broken. We saw that buying power to the upside there. So we are looking at coming down and. We're looking at coming down and basically potentially finding support on that, right? If we can find a nice level of support on that, we are going to test it. I don't see us surging up to the upside anytime soon for VeChain right now. We are going to come down and test it on this trend line that we've got going down here, and we do have this 55 moving average coming down here. Whether the price fizzles out like this and then correlates perfectly with the 55 and this moving average, and then we see a surge to the upside, that's basically a pretty common scenario to play out in terms of price action. We're not just going to see a straight dump down to the downside. In terms of chart pattern that we've got going on here, falling wedge, near enough a falling price channel, but not quite, so it makes it a falling wedge. I would have liked to seen a nice healthy touch to the downside here before another surge to the upside to make it a bit more confirmed. But as you can see, we do have quite a few touches to the top side and the bottom side of this chart pattern that we've got going on here. So that basically initiates we are looking at some sort of measure move in terms of a break to the upside. Some sort of measure move in terms of a break to the upside right now. I wouldn't be looking at getting it anytime soon. I'd be waiting for that retest when we come down. And as I said, we could be looking at that 55 coming down from there, and then a retest from that point there around 0.09 cents, right? 9 cents, right? that retest point at 9 cents, and then we could be looking at some sort of measure move up from there. In terms of percent for that measure move, in terms of a percent for that trade for VeChain, we could be looking at a nice 30% gain. God, that would be nice to see for VeChain. Yeah, it would be very, very nice to see for VeChain, and that is something that I'm pretty excited about, right? Because I can see VeChain, obviously we did top out, I think it was around 27 cents or something crazy. Yeah, 27 cents we topped out for VeChain. And now it's sat around 10 cents, which is just crazy, right? Massive reduction in the price. So I would like to see VeChain make a swift recovery from there. And today it's up like 19% today already, which is great. Obviously, it was up a lot more earlier today. But at this point in time, it's up around 19%, which is great. 20% now. But yeah, so if you're looking at getting in trade, potentially a trade position for VeChain, this is something that I'd be looking at right now. But as you can see on the RSI, we do have a swift rejection, right? We've got a swift rejection happening right now on the RSI because we became overbought, right? We became overbought. We became overbought, and obviously that means a reversal in the price, and that's obviously a reversal from this massive surge, massive breakthrough of this major trend line that we've got going on here, and that's what you're seeing now. So if you're looking at a long position, I'd be waiting, right? I'd be waiting for the retest of this trend line, potentially a retest of this 55 moving average that we've got going on here, and basically giving the RSI enough time to correct itself to get to the central point, so then we can have another surge to the upside, right? That's what I'd be looking for in terms of the trade, and in terms of like signals for it being a good trade. In terms of the MACD right now, we're pretty far away from a bearish crossover. At this point in time, we are seeing, we got a nice lower low back in the 19th of May last week, and then the higher high of the uptrend there on the 20th of May. So it's not really, got nothing to really go on in terms of trend right now. We are in an uptrend, right? We are in an uptrend, and we are seeing a bit of reversal on this live price action here. But we're still in an uptrend, so we could see, that's what I'm saying, we could see a nice test at this point here, and then a surge, a higher high being created in terms of an uptrend on the MACD, and then some sort of pattern coming off like so, right? And that would basically mean the price could come up, complete this measure move, see a swift rejection, just play along this sort of line, like doing a bit of a wavy motion, right? That's basically kind of what I can see for the sort of the short term for VeChain right now. Long term, it's all the same on all the charts basically right now. But yeah, definitely something to consider in terms of a position. If we are going to see us lose this major trend line, if we're going to see us lose this major trend line, the next level of support is around 0.9 cents, and then below that is around 7 cents, right? 7 cents. Next level of support is 9 cents. Below that, we're looking at 7 cents. Absolute bottom for me. We do have this volume weighted ATR band coming through, and you can see we pretty much do respect it. If we don't respect it, we trend below it, and then we reclaim it. We trend below it, then we reclaim it. So it's usually those V-shaped recoveries from this volume weighted ATR band. So if we are to lose it, right, if we are to lose this volume weighted ATR band, we're going to see some sort of price action like this, and then the reclamation, that's not the reclamation, the reclaim of this falling wedge that we got going on here, and basically we could probably consolidate from there if that's obviously on the basis that we lose this volume weighted ATR band. But as I said, we do continuously find support on it. So if we are to lose all these major moving averages here and lose this horizontal level of support at 9 cents and lose the level of support at 7 cents, we are probably looking at a bounce from this volume weighted ATR band and this major trend line to the downside at around 6 cents, right? So that could be a potential buying opportunity for VeChain. Right, that's kind of VeChain done, right? Guys, got any requests? Dump them in the chat. And also, guys, if you're liking the stream, smash that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. And I am going to be streaming every day, Monday to Friday. Right, it's my streaming schedule, Monday to Friday for 1 to 2 hours. And you basically, if you want to be doing this with me every morning, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you're never going to miss one of my uploads or when I go live. I do like to do some altcoin videos as well, potential alt gems to invest in. So yeah, you're never going to miss one of my uploads if you subscribe on that. Let's do a bit of XMR, right? A bit of XMR. As I said previously, I'm pretty bullish on XMR and have been for quite a while. They do have quite a lot of fundamentals behind them, and they are primarily being used on the black market at this time. And that's obviously where Bitcoin originated from, right? It's where Bitcoin sort of originated from. So I can see high potential here, some high potential here for this crypto itself, right? As you can see, we do have this falling price channel. Not the greatest falling price channel in the world, but it's a falling price channel nonetheless. Nonetheless, we do have this horizontal point of resistance here. And potentially we could see some sort of descending triangle sort of playing out like this if we aren't to break any higher than this. Let me get that a bit more obvious for you guys. So a descending triangle looking like so. That's what I could basically see planning out in terms of price action if we can see if we aren't going to find a nice level of support on this trend line, which we are currently creating at this point in time, right? But at this point in time, right, this falling price channel, which we have just broken to the upside in terms of this trend line, we are looking at some sort of measure move to the upside from there. As you can see, we have bounced perfectly off the volume weighted ATR band there, so that's nothing to worry about in my opinion. In terms of an entry for this position, I'd be looking at an entry around this 55 moving average, depending on where we're going to bounce from there. But you need to take into account, if we are to lose that 55 moving average, like we have done here, we're seeing that surge to the downside, right? And obviously being in a bear market, it's going to be pretty strong surges with all the FUD in the market as well. So we need to take that into account. So I wouldn't be entering straight away. I'd be looking at looking for a candle close or something along the lines of that. And then stop loss, potentially on this trend line here that we got coming down, or below one of these major moving averages at around $223 there for Monero, right? In terms of a percent for this measure move, which we'd be looking at getting in around the 55, up to around this point, we're looking at around 14% gain for Monero. Very, very nice indeed. I don't see us going any higher than that at this time. In terms of the RSI right now, we were not quite oversold. We weren't, not overbought, sorry. We weren't quite overbought. We do have this dominant high point coming down here. So we could be looking at something along the lines of this. In terms of a trend, line for the RSI here. So at this point, we are currently testing that. So that could basically mean if we find a nice level of support on that trend line on the RSI, we are looking at a nice surge to the upside, and that basically indicates we're going to bounce off this 55 moving average that we've got going on here. In terms of the MACD, which we've been got going on here. What just happened to my chart? What we've been going on here? We do have a nice high here in terms of a trend. In terms of an uptrend here, we could be looking at some sort of thing going on like this. But at this point in time, we could be also looking at it like this, and we do actually have a new trend cycle basically being set, right? That there's potential for that. We are miles away from a bearish crossover in my opinion, so it could just be a nice little retrace and then a nice surge to the upside, which is another signal that this measure move itself is going to basically play out, and we are going to see a nice 13% there if we can get in right. And not get a nice wick down and a nice stop out, that'd be dreadful. But in terms of downtrend right now, in terms of a downtrend on the MACD, as you can see, we do have this lowest low point here and the lower high points here on the MACD here. We've got this dominant trend line, right? We've got this dominant trend line potentially looking something along the lines of this. So if we are going to have that bearish crossover to the downside, right? If we are going to have that bearish crossover to the downside, we're not going to see a significant fall in the price if we can respect this trend line. It's going to be what I like to call a flaccid trend on the MACD here. So yeah, it's definitely something to think about if it's looking like we're going to break down to the downside anytime soon. I could bet it basically means, right, that we're going to potentially come down on this downtrend right along this trend line, right on the lower side of this, the higher side of this trend line here, the higher side of this trend line and this falling price channel, and then potentially see a bullish crossover in the MACD and then a break in the price from there. That's kind of the ideal scenario for our trade, right? And that's basically what I can basically see planning out for XMR, which is a very nice coin indeed, in my opinion. And I would like to see that see some surge in the price, because it did get to around $500, which is just crazy. I actually bought Monero at 100 and sold it around 400. And then it basically just carried on surging up from there, right? I think a lot of the altcoins did before the ultimate crash, right? But in the lowest point, we did see $124 Monero. crazy cheap, right? Crazy cheap, right? And if the price is going to continuously dump in this bear market, I have said I'm just going to be continuously accumulating, right? I'm going to be continuously accumulating because when we do see that bull market switch over again, we are going to be looking at some significant gains if we're accumulating all these coins at lower prices. That's the idea, right? That's the idea. It's going to scare a lot of people out of the crypto market, which, in my opinion, it's needed because I'm sick of these panic sells and FOMO buys. It's just a bit long. It's just a bit long. It's just a bit volatile, and it's just ruining chart patterns and ruining trading, in my opinion, right, for crypto. So yeah, I would like to see a lot less idiots in the market, right? a lot less people going, I want to get rich. I want to basically buy this coin and let it go to the moon and basically get rich for doing no work, right? That's what I hate, right? Right. Any requests of coins in the chat? None as of yet. Let's do Litecoin. Bit of Litecoin. Yeah, let's do Litecoin. At this point in time, Litecoin is pretty much the same as most charts, right? Pretty much the same as most charts. We do obviously have that dominant falling wedge coming down from there. In terms of level of resistance, the next target we're looking at is around 174. That's obviously on the predication that we can find a nice level of support on this 55 moving average that we've got going on here. It's doing for an hour and a half now. 55 moving average that we've got going on here. If we can break that to the upside, ideal. The next target that we'll be looking at is 174, as stated just there. We do have this price action channel to think about as well, because we could be looking at a bounce from there and then a retest on this 55 moving average from there. In terms of the lowest point for Litecoin right now is the level of support at around $1.28. We do have this volume weighted ATR band to come down to think about, because we might not get to this level of support here. We could be looking at a bounce to the upside and a lower high being created from there. Like so. And yeah, that's probably the low point for Litecoin right now. If we are going to see a trend reversal here, let's bring up the RSI on the short term. As you can see, we near enough got overbought here, near enough overbought. We do have pretty dominant trend lines coming down, which we have broke, right? We have broke this dominant trend line. So we could be looking at a reversal in the price, losing this 55, as I just said here, losing this 55 moving average on the short term here, coming down, right? Coming down, testing this price action, testing this 21 moving average here, and then potentially seeing a nice level of support on the RSI in terms of buying power, and then basically we surge to the upside in terms of buying power, and that obviously means we surge to the upside in terms of price, looking at the target of 173. Definitely something to think about when trading Litecoin. In terms of the MACD right now, we're looking at we're setting lower highs, right? We're setting lower highs. We've got a nice higher high here. Let's get rid of that trend here. Obviously, we are still in this uptrend. We're looking at a bit of a fizzle out on this uptrend. That's obviously this pullback we got going on here. So ideally, we can get a nice close above the 55 in 26 minutes on the hourly chart here. And that basically means I'm a bit more bullish on Litecoin right now, and we could see a nice surge to the upside, breaking this horizontal point on the MACD here, and potentially setting a higher high in terms of an uptrend, right? And that could basically mean a new trend cycle, right? Because we've obviously got this one going down here. If we got this one going down here, if it's respected at this point here from that last uptrend that we had going on here, which was obviously this point in the chart, but if that's heavily respected on this trend line, then yeah, that's going to be the end of the cycle. But if it's not, we are going to be looking at something along the lines of this, something a bit longevity, I think the word is, or something like that, right? It's going to be a bit longer here. So that basically means we could see some resistance from this line as well. So it's definitely something to look at when trading Litecoin at this point, because we could see, as I said, a swift rejection. And if we are going to see a swift rejection from there, we're going to see a bearish crossover. And then we've obviously got this lower point here to think about, which we could be seeing some sort of downtrend coming around this point, or potentially breaking this horizontal point that we've got here on these two previous downtrends on the short term, right? For Litecoin. Yeah, so definitely something to consider when trading Litecoin. And if we are to break to the downside, we are going to lose this level of support on the RSI on this trend line here. So yeah, so if we are to lose that, so keep your eyes on that if you're looking at a position for Litecoin at this point in time. It does look like a pretty broadening wedge right now on my screen. Oh, not there. Yeah, pretty broadening wedge on my screen right now. Yeah, something along the lines of that. But at this point in time, it is like all the markets are a bit mad, right? All the markets are a bit mad. We are seeing that surge to the outside, but I don't think it's going to be very long until. In terms of the trap, right? This is making everyone think, right, it's Monday. Everyone's buying it up. It's the end. We're not going down anymore. We're going to see that surge of buying power to the upside, as you can see on the top 50 cryptos at the moment. But we are likely to see some sort of reversal from there, trapping everyone basically out of the market. Just going to have a sip of tea. Very good indeed. Right, in terms of Bitcoin right now, as I said before, we were looking at finding that level of support on the volume weighted ATR band. We're currently 2 hours and a half, 2 hours, 24 minutes away from that. And we're currently basically testing it, right? We're currently testing it at this level here at 36,400. We're currently testing it in terms of finding support on it. If we can find support on it, that'd be ideal. But at this point in time, we're finding quite a bit of resistance off the 21 moving average here. So ideally, we want to pump. We want to basically find support on this volume weighted ATR band over the next 2 hours and 23 minutes and break this 21 moving average as well. That would be the ideal scenario for Bitcoin, right? And then we could be looking at a measure move to the upside from there. Measure move to the upside from there. And that's basically the measure move up from this falling wedge that we've got going on here. That's pretty bad. This falling wedge that we've got going on here on the midterm for Bitcoin, right? In terms of the short term for Bitcoin, as discussed, we do have this price channel coming down here. We do have this price channel coming down, and we are looking at a measure move up to the upside from there in terms of a trade. Let me look at a little bit of a percent from there. 12%, well, near enough 12%. Yeah, just under 13%, right? Very nice indeed, and that obviously correlates perfectly with the 200 moving average on the hourly time frame, right? So if we're looking at a long position from there, we're probably looking at a bounce on this 55 moving average, or potentially coming down, trapping people out, and then a bounce from this level of support at 35,200. Definitely something to consider, right? Definitely something to consider when trading Bitcoin if you're going to be entering along anytime soon. Personally, my opinion is at this point in time, I'm not going to be entering this long on the hourly time frame. I'm going to be waiting for that midterm close. Be waiting for that midterm close, and I'll be aiming for that that nicer percent and nicer level of confirmation in terms of this measure move, right? And also we have got this pretty dominant level of resistance on the RSI that we need to think about as well. And in terms of buying power to get there, we are going to need to see some to get over this 21 moving average, which will basically put essential on the RSI, and then we're probably going to see a nice surge of buying power to the upside, and that'll be potentially the completion of this measure move. But if we are going to be testing this trend line here on the RSI, and we are in that long position, it's something you've really got to manage, right? You've really got to manage it yourself, because if we're testing that top side, the bottom side of this trend line, and we're not looking like we've got enough buying power to break it in terms of price action, I'd be looking at basically exiting my trade, right, before we complete the measure move, and before we hit this moving 55 moving average as well, right? So yeah, that's basically just managing your trade accordingly in terms of what's happening on the RSI, and likewise on the MACD here. As you can see on the MACD here on the midterm, we are basically in an uptrend. We have had that bullish crossover. It's looking good. We do have this point to challenge, but we are going to need some significant buying power to get there. At this point in time, it's looking quite nice, right? It's looking quite nice for a move to the upside if we can close above the volume weighted ATR band in 2 hours and 21 minutes time. So that's the position I'm going to be looking at for today. And as I said, it is a nice near enough 13% gain. It doesn't look like it now. No, sorry, that was the midterm, right? Yeah, sorry, it's a near enough a 9% gain. But as I said, we do have the RSI to think about, so we're probably looking at something around 6-7%. Obviously, depending on what's going to happen with this dominant trend line here. If we can break it instantly in terms of buying power, then ideal. I'll be holding my position until the completion of that measure move, potentially even to the completion of testing of this moving average here, the 55 moving average, right? That's the ideal scenario. In terms of a position for Bitcoin for myself. And yeah, that's kind of Bitcoin summed up right now. In terms of the long term, as I said before, we have got this level of resistance at 42 on the bull market barrier. So we'll be looking at getting over that anytime soon. That'd be ideal. At this point in time, Bitcoin is falling off a cliff, right? We did see lows of 30K. Absolutely crazy stuff. But as I said before, on the bull market barrier, on the previous bull trend that we were in, as you can see, we did dump off an absolute cliff, and then we basically came up and we tried to basically test the lower side of this bull market barrier yet again, and that was near enough 100% gain right up to that point. So we could be looking at some sort of trappy momentum from there before continuing down into this bear market, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we were to come up and see 43,000 within the end of the week, right? Within the end of the week, I can see a potential candle coming up on the weekly chart, of course. On the weekly chart, of course, a candle coming up and basically testing this zone around 43, probably switching a lot of people bullish before the whales decide to go bang, 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 and dump the price again, right? I don't think we're obviously going to get this low, but I think potentially we're gonna get to around this level. This level at around 30K, and I think we're going to scale around here for a significant amount of weeks, basically just fizzling out all the idiots from the market, in my opinion, right? Yeah, so let's do some more altcoins, right? They're pretty Oh yeah, pretty all over the place today, altcoins, in terms of price action, because they're all breaking the same sort of trend. But yeah, any requests in the chat, guys, for altcoins, hit me up and I'll do some TA for you there. Just gonna have some more tea. Altcoin I actually like is crypto.com. I'm pretty bullish on crypto.com because they're one of the biggest exchanges out there, right, in terms of Americans. In terms of Americans, they're a huge exchange, and I do think they're going to do similar stuff to Binance, right, in terms of blockchain. And if that's to basically play out, then we're going to see a significant surge in the price for crypto.com. So I do have them pretty much sat in my portfolio, right? Pretty much sat in my portfolio. I do see a nice falling wedge coming down here. A nice falling wedge coming down here in terms of the short term for crypto.com here. So that basically initiates likelihood of a break to the upside, and that's kind of what we're doing here in terms of this trend line that we've got coming down. We do have this 55 moving average that we are currently finding a bit of resistance off, but I can basically see us coming down, testing the top side of this falling wedge here, and hopefully seeing a rebound from there. The next target we'll be looking at in terms of horizontal resistance is 11 cents there for crypto.com. And if we are getting to these lower points, right? If we are getting to these lower points, for me, these are just accumulation points, right? We're for this bear market. For me, I'm going to be accumulating all the way down, right? I'm going to be accumulating all the way down. So when we eventually switch back up, I'm going to have so many goddamn coins and so much in my portfolio. The gains are going to be absolutely irreversible, right? They're just going to be insane gains, right? And that's how crypto made a lot of people millionaires over the last bear market, because people were just literally accumulating all the way down, right? So it's definitely something to consider doing. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. In terms of a measure move from this falling wedge that we've got going on here, we could be looking at potential long position to the upside. Obviously, there's scarcity in the market at the moment, and we are looking at some sort of market reversal. Obviously, this is quite steep in terms of gains. So we are looking at some sort of market reversal, but we could see that buying power. Remember, we are on the short term. We could see that buying power coming all the way up to this point here before we are likely to see that reversal. Just take into account we are in a bear market now, right? We are in a bear market. A lot of people say we aren't. We are. We're in a bear market, right? We've dumped significantly. We've seen a reduction of 20% or more from Bitcoin. That initiates a bear market, right? We're in a bear market. We're going to see that downtrend happening. So don't shy away from it. Get smart. Trade that bear market. Do that right. In terms of a percent for this trade that we're looking at, right? Because we are going to see swings to the upside. It's not just going to keep going down. The swings to the upside we're going to be looking for. Look at that. Nice 16% gain. In terms of taking profit points, we've got this horizontal level of resistance here. Horizontal level of resistance here. And we've got one literally sat at 11 cents. One sat at 11 cents 34. So they could potentially be some take profit points coming through. But in terms of an entry for that position, I would be waiting for that retest of this trend line, and then potentially the level of support on this 55 moving average here, because as you can see, we haven't found support on it in quite a while, right? We haven't found support on it in quite a while, and when we do find support on it, we do see a nice surge, right? We do see a nice surge to the upside. Sorry, this green one's the 55 moving average, right? We do see a nice surge to the upside in terms of buying power, so that could be definitely something to think about if we are to clear this 55, right? If we are to clear this 55, even a little move up to this $1, not $1, 11 cents and 12, right? 11 cents to 12, right? And we could potentially see a surge up to that point. And then that's why I'd be taking a bit of profit there, potentially taking more profit off there if we can see a surge to the upside for crypto.com. Need to speed this up, I think. In terms of the RSI right now, in terms of the RSI for crypto.com right now, we're not quite overbought, but we've got a little way to go before we get there. A little bit of way to go before we get there. But at this point, it's looking quite steep in terms of buying power, as I said, in terms of price action. Here on crypto.com. So we are potentially looking at some sort of reversal. In terms of a reversal, the lowest point I can see us going is challenging this 21 moving average here at around 10 cents, and then potentially getting a nice bounce off this volume weighted ATR band here, as we do usually, right? We do usually bounce off it. If we're not bouncing off it, we are trending below it, right? We're trending below it, and then we always come up. That's the wrong one. We always come up and basically reclaim it from there, right? We always come up and reclaim it from there. As seen here, that insane dump to the downside. We come up, we reclaim it, and then we trade above it, right? As you can see here, nice levels of support. So if we are going to come down, I would be looking at a nice a point not to long from here, but a point of price action where we are going to see a bit of reversal, right? Probably some consolidation with this trend line that we've got going on here, like so. Maybe potentially creating a mini mini falling wedge on the downside, and then potentially a break to the upside. Obviously, it'd be really small, but potentially a break to the upside. And then we could be looking at this measure move to the upside from there if we are going to lose what we have at the moment, the support on this trend line. Yeah, that's kind of crypto.com kind of summed up, right? In terms of the MACD right now, we are in an uptrend. We are actually setting higher highs in the uptrend. We could see this go a heck of a lot higher. We could see this go a heck of a lot higher in terms of the uptrend. We are quite far away from a bearish crossover right now. So in terms of a long position, this is looking quite nice to play out, right? Now, any other requests in the chat? No requests as of yet. So I will do. I like to stick with the top 50, right? I like to stick with the top 50 cryptos, even though they're all doing the same thing at this point. They're all doing the same thing. Let's do a bit of Stellar, right? Let's do a bit of Stellar. That's currently up 16% today. God, that is some parabolic movements. Some parabolic movements there. Yeah, parabolic movements there. Threw myself off then. Jesus. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, so as you can see here, we are on the hourly time frame. We are on the hourly time frame, coming down from the all-time high point here at near enough 80 cents. We do have a pretty dominant trend line from there, right? Which would be, in a sense, the next target for a test to see if we can find support on, right? And that's basically what I can see us kind of heading to in terms of this buying power at this point in time. If we jump down to the 15-minute, we probably do have a symmetrical triangle playing out. Yeah, pretty much symmetrical triangle playing out here. In terms of the short term here, because we have seen these insane pumps, right? We've seen these insane pumps before we saw the lowest point. Was that quite the lowest point? Yeah, lowest point created there. We have seen those insane pumps, insane buying power to the upside from there, and this is basically a correction, right? We're seeing that basic correction on the short term here. So that basically forms that symmetrical triangle, and then we're looking for that break wave back to the upside, and potentially. Let's jump back to the long term. Yeah, potentially a test of this trend line that we've got going on here to the upside, right? Because we're not just going to keep going up in this parabolic motion continuously before having some insane correction. We're better off consolidating like this, having that healthy sideways, getting everyone a price to basically chill out for a bit, letting the price chill out, letting the price action chill out, and then we see a nice surge to the upside, potential measure move there on the short term, right? And then we're going to be challenging this this level of resistance, right? If we're challenging this level of resistance, this trend line coming down from the all-time high here, we have got to, if we find a nice level of support on that, I can see us basically, I wouldn't see us going all the way up right from there. I would see us basically consolidating along it, probably testing the 200 a few times. If we can find a nice level of support on the 200 moving average here, I can see us coming up, testing the volume weighted ATR. But you have to remember, we are in a bear market here, so it's likely that we probably see a bit of a curl over and a bit of a rejection from here, right? Potentially not even coming up and testing this trend line here. And that basically initiate that we're going to come down and test the 55 moving average. And just below that, a horizontal level of support, we do have at 38 cents there, right? And yet, it's still going to be healthy, right? It's still going to be healthy for a chart to pump this much, right? Let's do some percents, right? Let's do some percentages. In terms of pumping, right? A 64% gain, right? 64% pump in the price here. It's still healthy for us to correct down to this point of support at 14%. 14% correction after a 65% gain. That's still healthy, right? That's not an indication that we're going to dump off a cliff again. It's an indication that we are going to probably see some sort of reversal in the price from there, and then some progressionary pumps from there, because that's a healthy curl over, find the support, pump up from there. That's the ideal scenario in a sense, right? I would be worried if we were just consolidating, pumping up, consolidating, pumping up. It's healthy, right? It's healthy, but if you go to the longer time frames, it gets a lot more parabolic, and then you need that silly correction from there, and that's not what we're after, right? Not those trappy zones. So yeah, ideally we could potentially come down, test this 55. We do have the 21 moving average coming down here, and this heavy level of support, which we actually smashed through last time we were in its zone at 38 cents. So potentially we could be coming down. We actually have just seen a dump in the price while I'm streaming, right? A dump in the price while I'm streaming here. So in terms of a bounce point, we'd be looking at the 55 at around 39 cents. Definitely something to consider when trading Stellar, right? When trading Stellar. In terms of the RSI right now, we did get overbought, and that's what you're seeing right now. This pump here was this overbuying section, and then we're seeing this reversal in the price, right? We're seeing this reversal in the price. Ideally, we want to see a nice sell-off, get to the central point. Ideally, a nice bounce off this point, which would indicate a nice sell-off as of then, and then a progressionary pump to the upside from there. That's the ideal scenario for Stellar if you're going to be trading it today. At this point in time, for the MACD, we have just set a nice high on the MACD, and by the looks of it, this trend is fizzling out pretty sharpish, and as you can see, these two lines are pretty imminent for a bearish crossover, right? Pretty imminent for a bearish crossover. I can't see it being big. I can't see it being huge because obviously we've got this lower low here and these higher lows being created. I can't see it being big, probably respecting this this horizontal level of support here, and that could potentially mean the bounce is imminent from this point here. The bounce is imminent from this point, and that could initiate a bullish crossover, and then a bullish crossover on the MACD here, and then basically another trend to the upside coming up like this, setting a higher low here. In terms of trend for the MACD, looking something along the lines of that, right? Something along the lines of that in terms of a cycle. Yeah, definitely something to think about as a bounce point from around 38 cents there for Stellar. Yeah, definitely something to consider when trading Stellar, right? Let me look at some other coins here. Has anyone got any other coins? Dump them in the chat and I'll do a little TA for you. Also, guys, if you're liking the stream, smash up that thumbs up button. Helps me out tremendously. Turn that thumbs up blue. And also, if you want to stream with me every day, well, don't stream with me every day, but if you want to watch my stream every day, I'll be streaming Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 hours every single morning. So you can trade with me. You can follow my TA if you like. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. It's just my opinions of what I think might happen in the market. And also, I do altcoin videos as well. Emergency updates on price action and stuff like that. So if you never want to miss one of those uploads, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you're never going to miss one of my uploads, basically. I'm just going to have some tea. And then I want to jump onto Doge. Let's have a little Doge. Yes, Doge. Hate a bit of Doge. Yeah, not a fan of Doge myself. But I'm a fan of people making money, right? Fan of people making money, but I'm not a fan of Elon manipulating the market. That drives me up the wall. As you can see with Doge, at this point in time, on the hourly chart, we do have this dominant trend line coming down from the top side, right? Let me get rid of the WOD machine so it's a bit more visually appealing for you guys. We have this dominant trend line coming down from the top side here, potentially creating some sort of descending triangle going on here that we've got. Finally, a different chart pattern, some sort of descending triangle that we've got going on here. And as you can see, that if it's descending, it's initiating a price break to the upside, right? It's initiating a price break to the upside. Get rid of this. Price break to the upside. In terms of a measure move, we'd be looking for that. It'd be something along the lines of this. Obviously, we're going to go on the most recent trend. Obviously, depending on where we're going to be breaking along this triangle. A lot of people, a lot of traders like to go on the first trend of the triangle, but in terms of I did that wrong. In terms of top to the bottom, right? Yeah, because it's to the upside. In terms of a greedy measurement for that, we could be looking at literally something around the 45 cent mark, which in my opinion is it's insanely ambitious, and I don't think we're ever going to get that, right? We could in the future, but at this point in time, being in the bear market, I don't think we're going to be getting there anytime soon. If you're looking for a measure move in terms of a long trend, it'd be something along the lines of this, but you do have to take into account we do have this horizontal level of resistance here at around 33 cents, which we currently just tested, and we got rejected from that pretty swiftly. So in terms of what I think is happening at this point in time on the chart, we are looking at some resistance point here. So that's definitely something to think about for when we do break this triangle to the upside. If we break to the upside, I don't see us breaking to the downside anytime soon, unless we see some insane sell-off for Bitcoin yet again, because obviously that has had some insane effects on the price of Doge. Right now, ideally, it's a pretty confirmed descending triangle we got going on here. Nice few touches here. Would have liked to see another one down here. Then it would have been a bit more like that. So then it's a bit more reliable in terms of getting this trade and having a confirmation of a nice successful trade coming through. But as you can see, we do find quite a bit of resistance off this top side of this triangle here. So we could be, in a sense, surging down in price. And as you can see on the RSI here, we are looking at this trend line coming down here. This trend line coming down here, which we have, in a sense, just lost, right? We have, in a sense, just lost this trend line, so that could initiate some sort of selling power, right? And that's basically what we're seeing right now for Doge. We do have 5 minutes left of the hourly candle. That means I've nearly been streaming for 2 hours. Yep, 10 minutes away from 2 hours. Crazy stuff. I like to stream 1 to 2 hours every single morning. So if you want to do this every single morning with me, hit that subscribe button. But yeah, we're gonna if we're losing this trend on the RSI here, I can basically see Doge coming down in price and potentially testing this level of support at around 0.28 here. 0.28. I can basically see us testing that and potentially seeing a bounce from there, right? And that would basically, I don't think we'll get to the oversold point on the RSI there, but maybe around this point here. and then a test to the upside on this to the bottom side of this trend line here. Definitely something to think about in terms of price action. But in terms of if we are going to basically break to the upside and find a nice level of support and see some sort of switch around on this trend line here, we could see a nice measure move playing out, as I just discussed here. In terms of percent for that measure move, if we are going to be looking at a surge to the upside there, let me grab the percent thing. If we are going to be looking at a surge to the upside here, obviously depending on where we're going to break, right? Obviously depending on where we're going to break along this triangle, if we are to break to the upside, we would be looking at something around a 15% gain, near enough 15%, just under 15% gain there, which is ideal, right? It's ideal. We do need that surge to the upside, and we do need those big percentages. But at this point in time, Doge is dumping, right? It is dumping right now. As I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of Doge in the world, but I do like people making money. And to be honest, Doge is pretty easy to trade in terms of reliable trend patterns, right? I don't know how it is, but it is, right? In terms of the midterm right now, as you can see, in terms of an uptrend, this right here is a dominant level of resistance in terms of a trend line on the MACD here. So that's definitely something to think about if we are going to see some sort of measure move play out to the upside, because we are going to see a resistance point potentially around these levels of resistance at around 0.38 there and 0.41. 41 cents and 38 cents there, and then we're probably going to see some sort of rejection from there if this trend isn't going to fizzle out and we do see a bearish crossover happening pretty imminently. If that is to happen, then we are going to see a downtrend probably coming down. I don't think we're going to break the bottom side of this triangle here. We don't think we're going to break the bottom side of this triangle. I think the trend's probably going to come down, find the level of support on this trend line that we've got going on here, and then see a reversal, see that bullish crossover again, and then potentially consolidating into the bottom side of this triangle. And then we're looking at a potential break to the upside or a potential break to the downside, depending on where the new trend is going to be set, right? Depending on where the new trend is going to be set in terms of the trend cycle that we got going on here. Obviously, once this is played out and it's fizzled out on both sides, we could be looking at a new trend being set, something along the lines of that. So it's definitely something to take into account when trading Doge today, right? When trading Doge today, remember this is the 4 hour, so this could take a little bit of a while to plan out, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Doge, right? In terms of the WOD machine, right, let's get some moving averages up in here. As you can see, the 55 is imminently crossing over with the 200 there, and that initiates some sort of price move in terms of a big price move, right? In terms of the volume weighted ATR band that we've got going on here, we do finding that nice level of support on it there. So if we are going to see a lower point for Doge happening, I can see us basically seeing a recovery from 26 cents. I don't think we're going to get to 26 cents anytime soon unless we see some mass sell-off from Bitcoin as discussed. But at this point in time, I'm looking for that break to the upside with Doge and potentially coming up and testing these major moving averages. But in order to do that, we do need to break. We do need to come up and break this level of resistance here at 33 cents, right? And then find support on this 21 moving average at 33 cents 9. That's pretty much Doge summed up. I want to jump to ADA quickly, right? I want to jump to ADA because I want to see if we're anywhere near breaking this dominant trend line from the all-time high for ADA here. Yeah, dominant trend line from the all-time high for ADA here. Ideally, if we can break that to the upside, I'd be looking at a nice long position as discussed, 25%. We do obviously have these dominant trend lines coming in, so that could initiate some sort of take profit points to think about. But at this point in time, we are reversing in the price, right? We are reversing in the price, and the next level of support we're looking at is $1.40 for ADA. If we are to lose that, we would be looking at coming down significantly from there and finding the support on $1.16. In terms of price action, what's happened at the moment, we have literally pumped to the upside significantly, right? Swift recovery from that near enough $1 ADA, insanely cheap in my opinion, very bullish on ADA. As you can see here, we're pretty central on the RSI. It looks pretty good in terms of buying power. As you can see, we do have these dominant points in terms of being overbought for the RSI, so we could get some sort of trend line coming through looking like this. So in terms of before we get some sort of swift rejection in terms of selling power, we could be looking at coming up to around these sort of heights, which initiates sort of confirmation that we could be playing out this measure move, right? And that's ideal for the ideal scenario for a nice trade there for ADA, right? Now, in terms of the MACD right now, we are looking... we're looking okay. It's not too bad, right? We're looking okay. It's not too bad. Ideally, I'd like to see a higher uptrend than this right now. But this is obviously the horizontal support level. So in order for us to get there, we are going to be looking at playing out this uptrend for a bit longer. And that basically is the initiation point for when we're gonna start tapping these major moving averages, right? And that's when you want to be starting taking a bit of profit, right? We want to be starting taking a bit of profit if we are to get there. If we are to get there, and we do see us basically finding some resistance on this bottom side of this trend on the MACD. Let me get a thing going, yeah. At this point here, if we're going to see some sort of resistance here, then we could basically be looking at when we're due a bearish crossover if we are in that uptrend. and then managing our position accordingly if we were to enter before that, finding that consolidation period on these major supports and resistance, horizontal supports and resistance lines around this point here, right? So yeah, definitely something to think about when trading ADA. When that ADA trade comes through, that's going to look very nice if we can get some plan out motion in terms of buying power to the upside, right? And if we can smash through that major point on the MACD there, right? Just gonna have some more tea. You can call me Louis or Lewis. MATIC, love a bit of MATIC. Very bullish on MATIC, and I think MATIC is actually going to be, it's going to be one of the 5 coins that basically, when Bitcoin is trending down in this bear market we've got going on here, I think MATIC is going to be one of the ones that is going to be doing the complete opposite, and we are going to see some significant uptrends. And as you can see, that basically plays out here with this insane amount of buying power when we dropped all the way down to 74-cent MATIC, and now we're back up near enough, probably, yeah, it's around 100% gain for MATIC, right? And 100% gain for MATIC at this point in time. We do obviously have this dominant trend line coming down, right? This dominant trend line coming down from the all-time high from MATIC, right? So this is definitely something to think about when trading MATIC at this time, because we could come down. We could be coming down to $1.28, around that point, right? And if we are to get to that point, I can see us basically having a surge to the upside from there in terms of, obviously, you've got this dominant buying power here. It's likely we're going to see that again. The next level of resistance we're looking at testing in terms of a trend line is around $1.82, $1.85, around that sort of level, if we can see a significant buying power, to the upside, right? In terms of the RSI right now, we are pretty central, which is great, right? We're pretty central, which is great because of obviously all this buying power to the upside here. You'd think that would have pushed us overbought, right? You think that would have pushed us overbought. It would have on the shorter time frames, but on the longer time frame, on the midterm time frame here, on the 4 hour for me, we're looking at a nice. It's not quite parabolic, but it's a nice amount of buying power on the RSI. But look, we're having that nice healthy reversal, basically giving us a nice consolidation period here before another leg up to test this bottom side of this major trend line, which we've been following for quite a while, right? So ideally for MATIC, we'd be looking at coming down for a bit, testing this 129 zone, potentially getting in a position, potentially getting in a long, and then having a nice take profit up here. And that's basically the RSI and the chart pattern played out. But yeah, let me bring up some major moving averages for you there. Let me bring up some major moving averages, and we can see what they're saying, right? We can see what they're saying. At this point in time, we have tested and basically got rejected off the 55 moving average, and ideally, we need to find that level of support on the 55 moving average to get that leg up, right? To get that leg up to this trend line here. Ideally, as you can see here, we have seen this leg up happen before. This 55 moving average, it's got, it's the wrong tool. It's got quite a lot of momentum to the upside once we found that support on it, right? Once we found that support on it, we do have that momentum to the upside, right? We do have that momentum to the upside. So that basically initially is saying if we can get over it in the next 2 hours on this midterm and the 4 hour, we're looking at a nice surge to the upside and around seeing around a $1.80 MATIC, right? Yeah, and potentially we'll probably see some sort of correction from there because that is basically going to be some insane buying power from there. But it's definitely something to think about when trading MATIC in terms of moving averages, right? Because obviously we primarily respect them. In terms of getting to a high point today, if we were going to get to an absolute high point and smash this dominant trend line, the lower side of this channel that we've got going on here, I can see us basically finding some sort of resistance at around the $2 mark. Quite scary to say because obviously we're still quite a long way away in terms of the price. Like 68 cents, no, something like that, right? In terms of the price, quite far away. Yeah, 58 cents away, something like that. So, this would be the point of we're going to see some sort of rejection from there, in my opinion, right? And that's the volume weighted ATR band, which if we're trending above it, right? If we're trending above it, we are in an uptrend, and we're basically going to be trending above it. But we always come down and reclaim it, right? We always come down and reclaim it, or we use it as a support, right? We use it as support or resistance. Likewise here, the volume weighted ATR band is the red and the green indicator that I use. And as you can see, if we can get above it, we see there's significant gains, right? We see there's significant gains to the upside. But at this point in time, I do think we've still got a long way to go. And in order to get there, we are probably going to use it as a nice resistance point and see a bounce from there, right? See a bounce to the downside from there. Potentially respecting this trend line, because as you can see, the buying power from this trend line to the upside is huge, right? It is huge. So ideal scenario for MATIC right now is to come up, find support on the 55, come up, test this major trend line here, come up from there, see that buying power to the upside from there, test the volume weighted ATR band, and then basically have that healthy correctional period along this major trend line here, and basically reclaiming that that chart pattern that we've got going on from previous price action before this insane market that happened over the last week or so, right? But yeah, that'd be my opinions on MATIC. In terms of the MACD right now, we have just had a bullish crossover. In terms of getting to a nice sell point, to get over that, we're looking at getting to around the 0.07 mark. We're not looking like a bullish crossover anytime soon. Sorry, a bearish crossover anytime soon. But if we are to get one, it's not going to be that significant because, as you can see, it's pretty fizzled out, right? It's pretty fizzled out, and that could basically indicate some sort of trend line coming down along that. So it's going to be a pretty flaccid trend if we are going to trend down. So that basically is another indication that we could come up, test this, fizzle out for a bit, ride this trend line up, and then potentially see another leg up from there, right? Guys, if you're liking the content, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, turn that thumbs up blue. Helps me out tremendously, right? And guys, I stream every single day, Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 hours every morning. Been going just over 2 hours now. So if you like my content and you want to do this with me every single day, hit that subscribe button. I also do some altcoin videos as well. I do emergency updates on Bitcoin, ADA, anything that I see doing insane price action, right? To keep you guys updated. So yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You're never going to miss one of my uploads, right? Yeah, smash that thumbs up button. Helps me out tremendously. If you guys got any requests, hit me up in the chat, right? Hit me up on the chat. Get your requests in there. No worries, Lou. Have a good day, man. Hit me up in the chat. Hit me up in the chat there, and I'll do some TA for you there as well, right? Can have some more tea. And obviously, I am a new streamer, right? I've only been streaming this is like my 8th stream or something. So I'm continuously trying to improve. Hopefully, in like a month or so, I'll be a pretty good streamer. But at this point in time, I'm still trying to get my opinion across, right? I'm still trying to get the words out, still trying to do all that and get the confidence. I'm still pretty nervous at the start of every stream. So yeah, that's obviously going to come with practice and stuff like anything. But yeah, just bear with me if I make a mistake or anything like that, right? Obviously, I'll try and be as confident and as forward as possible in trying to get my opinion across. And nothing I say is financial advice. It's just my opinions on what I think might happen in the markets. Right, let's do a bit of ADA. Did we do ADA? Yeah, we did a bit of ADA earlier, but I do have a position I'm looking at for ADA here. I'm looking at a position for ADA if we can break this major trend line coming down here, right? But we do have a nice level of resistance to get over on the 4-hour time frame on the one. And that's a $1.50 mark for ADA. But in terms of a percent for a trade to the upside, we're looking at a 25% gain. And look, it plans out perfectly with the RSI in terms of the resistance point on the RSI here. So this could be a potentially really good position to think about, right? And that's the 4-hour time frame if you're looking at that yourself. And this is, obviously, we've got this falling wedge coming down here. So it's definitely something to consider, right? It's definitely something to consider when trading ADA itself. That's moved. Trading ADA itself, right? Yeah, so that's ADA. I've summed up ADA like 5 times on this stream, I think. Let me do a bit of Uniswap, I think. Yeah, Uniswap. Let's do a bit of Uniswap, right? Uniswap at this point in time, obviously it's on this downtrend, as a lot of things are. But today we've seen a surge in buying power to the upside. Obviously, we are in a bear market as well now, guys. We are in a bear market. Quite a few people are scared to say it. In my opinion, we're in a bear market. We've lost this bull market barrier. We're in a bear market, right? In order to be back in a bull market, in my opinion, we need to be clearing the $43,000 zone for Bitcoin, because obviously Bitcoin is a leader in the cryptocurrency world. But yeah, so we are going to see these swings. These swings at this point in time, we're seeing these swings to the upside on these levels of support. Here we are seeing those swings to the upside, and this is where everyone's like if you look at the top 50 cryptos today, everything's up, right? Everything is up for the day. We've seen these massive swings, so everyone's like, all the uneducated people, right? They're like, oh yep, time to buy. We're seeing that reversing the price. We're going to the goddamn moon. No. In a bear market, they basically swing it up, trap you, and then sell it off again, creating lower lows, right? That's the ideal scenario for the whales to be doing. And that's why a bear market, it works so well for them being in a bear market, because they just give everyone so much confidence, fake confidence in a sense, and then basically dump the price from there. So it's definitely something to take into account when you see these swings like this, right? It could not always mean that we're going to go up to the moon, right? And in order to switch back to a bull market, in my opinion, we need to be clearing this $43,000 zone, or at least testing it, right? Or at least testing it. At this point in time, we're miles away from it. And my prediction for Bitcoin is we come down and basically we fizzle out for a bit. Do a nice sideways action. Basically just keeping the markets nice and calm, a lot less volatile, because we've seen all the trend of people coming into the markets recently. It's just been absolutely insane. Yeah, in terms of Uniswap right now, right, we're looking at these obviously dominant trend lines coming down. For the top side here, we obviously are testing it. We're testing this dominant trend line on the 4 hours to the midterm. In 4 hours to the midterm, if we're looking at closing above that, we'd be looking at potential long position, right? Potential long position to the upside, but obviously we do have these levels of resistance here to think about. So we could be looking at, obviously we've just jumped down to the short term, to the hourly time frame. So if we can find a nice level of support here, then we could potentially be looking at a long to the upside from there, right? Definitely something to think about when we're trading Uniswap, but at this point in time, as I just said, it is looking a bit crazy in terms of that buying power to the upside on the midterm. In terms of, oh, that's the wrong tool. In terms of a chart pattern that we've got going on here, it's looking, oh, that's the wrong one. It's looking pretty like price channel-y, right? We're looking at pretty channeled right now. In terms of a measure move to the upside, it is going to play out perfectly with this level of resistance that we've got going on here. Let me draw that out for you guys so you can see it, just like so. In terms of a measure move to the upside, we're going to be looking at something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of this. Let me just get back to the 1 hour, was it? Yeah, if we're going to get over this this $20 mark in terms of level of resistance we've got going on here, we're going to be looking at a position looking like so, right? It's the wrong one. Looking like so. Yep. Back to the 4 hour. Yeah. Looking like so, right? So in terms of a percent for that trade, we could be looking along the lines of this, right? Obviously, we're not going to go to the top because you have to take in that little move into account. It's looking like a 20% trade for Uniswap. So that's something to really think about in terms of position. If we can hold our own, in this falling price channel that we've got here. Ideal scenario is we come up, we see that nice long trade, and we get in that and make that 20%. Worst case scenario right now, we lose this trend line of this channel, and basically we see a retrace, and the next level of support which we need to test is $14.80, around that sort of mark. That's the point where we could see some sort of bounce point. In terms for that to happen, that would need some insane sell-off power, right? Insane sell-off power, which would basically make us oversold on the RSI on the midterm. So then that initiates that we are going to bounce from there, right? We are going to initiate a bounce from there because we're not just going to stay oversold and continue down in terms of the RSI. You do need that buying power back to the upside, because if something's cheap, people are going to buy it, right? That's just basically normal stuff and how it works, right? In terms of the MACD right now on the midterm, as you can see here, we are actually in a bull market, right? We're in not a bull market. We're in an uptrend, right? A bull trend, right? It's not very big at all, but this could indicate that we are looking at basically getting to a bigger point. These are from quite far away, so I'm not quite a long time ago, so I'm not really going to go on them right now because there's been a lot of flaccid trends from there, right? Apart from this downtrend that we've got going on here, which is pretty dominant lower low here. So in terms of setting a higher high in terms of the MACD here, we could be looking at coming around this horizontal resistance point here for the MACD. But ideal scenario, we could get over that and set a nice point coming up to test this resistance zone at around 26. But in terms for that to happen, we are going to need some insane buying power. Referencing back to the RSI here, if we are going to see some insane buying power to the upside, that's good, right? We've got a long way before we're overbought. So that initiates that we could come up here and then see a rejection from there, and then see a rejection on the RSI there. And basically setting a new trend on the MACD here, and that basically mean a new sort of cycle, some sort of trend line we could go off from there, referencing other trends that we're going to have, and basically gives us a better indication of what the price is going to be doing in the future, right? We need to oil my chair; it's quite squeaky. But yeah, so that's Uniswap summed up in terms of a position to the upside and to the downside, right? If you've got any other requests of coins, hit me up and I will do them for you. Let me dump some moving averages here on Uniswap here, and it can basically give us some sort of another indication, right? So as you can see, we do have a volume weighted ATR band here. So that position I was just talking about, that potential long position we were looking at, right? A potential long position, we could be looking at sort of maybe a take profit around this sort of mark. Probably not all my position, right? I wouldn't be taking all my position, because if we can find a nice level of support on this, then that's going to be ideal, because that will basically mean we are going to surge to the upside from there, because the volume weighted ATR band, it does get quite heavily respected in terms of support. It's not going to be here now, right? Yeah, it's 4 hour. Let's jump to the hourly chart. And see if we can see some data. See some data there, right? See some nice data. Yeah, so as you can see, we do find pretty dominant levels of support on this volume weighted ATR band here. So if we are going to clear that on the short term there, I could be looking at basically some upwards momentum from there. As you can see here, once we do get that, we do see that upwards momentum, and there is just continuous support along it to the bottom side of this volume weighted ATR band, which is this green band here, right? In terms of the red band at the top side, which is another volume weighted ATR band, because there's two of them, right? We do use it We do use it as resistance as well, as you can see here, and we do use it as support, and we usually ride along it if we're above it, right? And vice versa to the one at the bottom, as you can see here, riding below it, but we always reclaim it. This is the point of it, right? We always reclaim it. If we are to go over it, we always come back and reclaim it. So that's definitely an edge in a sense in terms of price action, in terms of trading. If we see the same pump to the upside, we're like, yeah, we are going to come back and reclaim it. It's pretty inevitable, right? So that's basically something that we go off. That I go off, right? So if we can find a nice level of support on the midterm, when we break it, we're looking at a nice surge to the upside, which would be lovely. But take into account, if we don't find a nice level of support on the 4 hour of the midterm, we are looking at potentially seeing that resistance coming down and then coming down and testing this lower side of the higher side of this falling price channel here. We'll get to 2 hours and 11 minutes, right? 2 hours and 11 minutes, guys. If you're liking the stream, hit that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. And if you want to stream me every day, stream me every day. If you want to jump on my stream every day, I'll be streaming Monday to Friday for 1 to 2 hours. And yeah, hit that notification bell. I'll do some altcoin videos as well. Some little alt gems to think about in terms of adding it to your portfolio and stuff like that. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice, just my opinions on what I think might happen. I'm going to do one more, guys. I'm going to do one more altcoin there, and then I'm going to wrap up the stream for the day because we have just hit the 2 hours and 12 mark. But I just like to say thank you guys for being here today. I will be doing another one Monday to Friday, so make sure you tune in for that. And shoot me some altcoins, guys. Shoot me some altcoins. Probably not now, but tomorrow. Shoot me some altcoins tomorrow, and basically stay tuned for my lunchtime video because I'll always do a video at lunchtime, whether it's an emergency update or it's a potential alt gem to think about, right? But yeah, let's do for the final altcoin of the day. Let's do cake. Do a bit of cake. Love a bit of cake. Yeah, let's do cake, right? So cake at this point in time, as you can see, we're in this dominant downtrend as per usual, right? As per usual, we're in this dominant downtrend. And we have seen quite a significant amount of buying power right now. A significant amount of buying power to the upside. And look, we are actually breaking this trend line coming down here, right? Let me get rid of these moving averages for now. We're breaking this trend line coming down here. As you can see here, we are currently testing it, right? We are currently testing it, but we are actually currently testing this level of resistance here. So it's a bit of a coiled up point right now for cake. Oh, there's two points of resistance here, right? It's quite a coiled up point for cake at this point in time. And basically, if we've got this high level of resistance here, it's unlikely we're going to break it, right? It's unlikely we're going to break it, and it's likely we're going to ride the top side of this trend line to the downside. We're going to ride the top side of this trend line to the downside, right? In terms of like a chart pattern that we've got going on here, it's looking along the lines something like this, right? Pretty falling wedge, but not quite there. If we were to put it like that to the end, to the closes, no, to the wicks, sorry. It would be falling wedge, but I prefer to go on the closes, right? They're more reliable. So it's pretty channely in my opinion, right? Pretty channely in my opinion, and that's basically another indication that we're called up and we're testing all these points of resistance here. If we are to lose that, the next target in terms of support is $10, which is pretty crazy. Considering it's only $14 now, so it's going to be a significant drop to the downside in terms of percent. We're going to be looking at literally like near a 30% drop to the downside, which is crazy, right? Don't want to be seeing that. And the reason why that is happening, right, because obviously there's a lot of uncertainty with crypto at the moment. And Cake is primarily used on PancakeSwap, right? And that is obviously an exchange. And you could do all your yield farming with all the staking and all that good stuff there. So yeah, people are obviously taking their money out of that because cryptos are not that stable at the moment. So that obviously means a lot of money is getting taken out of the actual coin Cake, right? So that's why this price is significantly dropping, right? We're seeing lower lows continuously. We did see a $9 Cake, right? $9 Cake. I think in the future, when yield farming goes like proper mainstream, like crypto has basically been doing for the last this year, the whole of the bull run for this year, right? Crypto's gone pretty mainstream. I think for the next section of when crypto goes mainstream, because I think it's going to fizzle out for now, because everyone's lost a lot of hope and a lot of celebrities lost a lot of money, which is obviously not funny, but it's ironic, investing in things you don't know about, right? But yeah, so I think a lot of uncertainty in the markets of crypto right now, and that basically references Cake. So everyone's pulling their money out of the liquidity pools and that sort of stuff, right? So yeah, in terms of price action right now, if we're looking at a measure move to the upside, we could be looking at testing this trend line that we've got coming down from this falling channel from previous price action here. In terms of a measure move to the upside, in terms of percent, in terms of a long, if we are to break it and we are to find a nice level of support here, because if we are to find a nice level of support here, then we've obviously got a lot below us, right? We've got a lot below us in terms of support. So we're going to have this level of support here at 14.4, this level of support here at 14.6, and then also this dominant trend line coming down as well. So if we are to break to the upside and basically level out here, right, and find support here, we are looking at that bounce point to the upside from there, right? Ideally, in terms of a percent, let me move that back down. In terms of percent, in terms of the trade, if we are to break here, we're looking at something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of this, a nice, near enough 30%, just under 30% long there for cake. In terms of some moving averages we can throw in there, as you can see here, look, we're currently finding support on the 55, which is great news because the 55 on the midterm usually either finds insane resistance or insane support, right? Insane support to the upside, nice moves to the upside there. It doesn't look big, but look, we can do percents there. It's still nice 5%, right? Still a 5% gain there. So if we're doing that in terms of a trade, that's ideal. And as you can see here, if we're riding above the 55, which is this green one here, we're looking at basically continuation to the upside of that uptrend, right? So if we can get above that, well, we are above it. If we can stay above it and find a nice level of support along it, we could be looking at some sort of price action looking like so, right? Some sort of price action looking like so with the 55 coming up, something looking like that, right? That's ideal, right? Ideal for cake because we could see some significant gains from there, right? Significant gains and significant measure moves being completed for us in terms of a trade. Yeah, so that's sort of the chart pattern at this point in time for cake on the midterm. Right now, we're not quite overbought, but we're getting there, right? We're getting there. So if we are going to see a surge to the upside, we are going to be looking at some sort of correction happening pretty imminently. So that's basically kind of an initiation that we're not in line to complete this measure move as of yet. We're probably going to come up, right? We're probably going to come up and that's not the one. We're probably going to come up, find a level of support on these current resistance lines here. Get overbought on the RSI, and then see some sort of swift rejection, and then potentially a bounce like so, right? Potentially a bounce like so, and that, as I said, it will give a chance to the 55 to come up and do its thing from there. So that's the RSI, looking not looking too bad, but not looking too great either, right? In terms of the MACD right now, we do obviously have this dominant higher high here. We do have this lower high that's formed here, but we are still in that uptrend. But it is fizzling out, right? It is fizzling out. The waves are getting smaller. We're getting lower high spikes in terms of that current trend. We are looking at potential bearish crossover. But with that being said, right? With that being said, we are looking at this, respecting this trend line that we've got going on here on the MACD here in terms of this trend cycle. So if we are going to see that bearish crossover happening soon, we know we're probably going to find a nice level of support on this point here. So that basically initiates we're not going to come up. We're not going to come down significantly in terms of reclaiming this falling wedge like to the bottom side of this falling wedge and seeing a $10 cake anytime soon. But we are going to see potential coming down, potentially testing this price action channel and the 21 moving average coming down here, and then potentially a bounce up from there, which will basically initiate a bounce up from here as well, right? And that basically mean a switch to an uptrend on cake there. So it's definitely something to consider if you are going to be entering a position from this major breakout point here. For cake, definitely something to consider. And that basically, guys, I'm going to wrap the stream up there. I'm pretty tired. It's I've been going for 2 hours, 20 minutes. But yeah, if you like the stream, hit that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. And if you want to stay tuned for tomorrow, because I'll be streaming tomorrow morning as well, Monday to Friday, 1 to 2 hours every morning. Did run a bit over today, 20 minutes over. But hey, I was enjoying myself. Right? I was doing some TA for you guys. So yeah, be sure to tune in tomorrow. And thank you guys for being here. Hit that subscribe button if you're going to tune in tomorrow. You're never going to miss one of my streams, and also I do altcoin videos, emergency updates as well. So yeah, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell if you never want to miss one of my uploads. Yeah, but yeah, thanks again for being here, guys. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Or I'm going to release another video in like 2-3 hours time. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you there. Thanks again, guys. Peace out.